Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. Hooray, hooray, hooray. My name is Jed, and we are in perhaps one of the most amazing books ever written. Amazing because, well, for one reason, it has given us the lineage of thought that we are a part of. The lineage of learning or philosophy, you could call it, but also the spiritual lineage, because learning doesn't reject your own soul, your own psyche, your own self. If we're to learn about anything that's meaningful, it better be about you and your mind, and what your mind is, the highest reach of the mind, and what we're supposed to be using our mind for. Therefore, true philosophy, not the philosophy that we're taught at school, true philosophy is also a spiritual method or yoga. Let me just make a quick adjustment on something here. Okay, maybe I'll do this. Adjusting something there, and I should be okay here. I think I should be okay here. Maybe. Okay, maybe just here. All right, enough fiddling around with my audio. So, let's review where we are in that history of learning, or the Dharma, to see what we have learnt so far from the key figures. And also, there's a big update on what some are calling Dramagate, the huge beef that content creator me and Emma from the Majority Report,
I've been a bad little girl,
are in right now. So an update on that huge going viral right now, drama beef. So we'll get into that today as well. So, where are we at in the book, and where are we at within the history of human thought? Let's check it out. This one here. So let's review. This is all from the book. None of this is my opinions. None of this is belief. It's all understanding for the win. Now, actually, let me just, the huge drama beef with Emma from the Majority Report. I'm still permanently banned from their Twitch chat. Can you believe it? For being right about everything all the time. Today there was the Majority Report All-Stars episode where Matt Binder and Brandon Sutton go on the show, and they're their own content creators themselves, but they're quite clever, and Brandon is really insightful. So who is they? The many are saying that this is the biggest beef the internet has ever seen, and it's going viral right now. So I recognized something from today's live stream of the Majority Report that has shed some light on the issue. So a big reveal coming up. But first we have to reflect or review where we are in the book and where we are within the history of human thought. All of this from the book, because this book fucking bangs. It bangs so hard, the masses bang so hard your grandkids will have CTE. This book's amazing. Written by someone who has reached Socrates' level or gone beyond. So we're very, very lucky to have this book that we're reading. Oh my goodness. Homer. He was around, let's say, I don't know how accurate these dates are, but I'll have a go. Homer is the background. He said, he showed us with Achilles that the worst person can become the best. Showing us all problems are understandable. All problems are solvable, are understandable, and solvable. That's what we got from Homer. Achilles going through that process. We also have, that's in the Iliad. In the Odyssey, we have the Odysseus. How do you spell Odysseus? Odysseus. Don't know how to spell it. I should look it up. Don't be lazy, Jed. Odysseus. Nowhere near. Oddyess. No, Odysseus. Even the wise have problems. Now we know this from anime. Every anime main character has a guru who has problems. That makes them interesting. It's also a trope in Eastern mythology. The guru with his flagon of alcohol, or the lecherous guru, or the pervy sage, we call it. Goku has a pervy sage, Naruto has a pervy sage, and pick an anime, you'll find someone, Tsunade, Naruto's sage who has a gambling problem. Even the wise have problems. Showing us attaining wisdom or reaching truth is different from the activity of removing problems. Already we've run out of space. Removing problems or what's false. Two different activities. Which means from Homer we get philosophical midwifery, which is the name for how to address the problems, even the worse, showing the understandability and the solvability of problems. But even those who are wise can go through philosophical midwifery, showing the nature of problems are fundamental beliefs about ourselves that we get from childhood, from our parental figures or parental surrogates, tying us to a kind of clan identity, clan loyalty, giving us our masks that we spend our lives identifying with, causing even our negative reincarnations if we don't address them. We also get Hercules, which is the ideal after having reached wisdom and removed problems, which is having a state of mind with the gods in heaven, and a functioning in Hades, where we play out those shadows, those masks that we identify with that are the cause of our problems. You're not really that, so it doesn't have an eternal being. So it plays out, it spins out its power until it dissipates. Hades. We also have Penelope, Penelope, who is the ideal woman. Women have to do that same thing, but they also have to deal with the bullshit of men. So they have to be clever. They have to see patterns. If they have some auricular power or foresight, they have to win the battle without fighting. So an ideal woman, Penelope. Homer, giving us philosophical midwifery. Problems are solvable, and giving us the ideals. After Homer, we have Xenophanes. Let's say he was around 500. Let's all right, let's go. So after Homer, the earliest written philosophy we have from a philosopher, Xenophanes. We're taking all of the key terms, the key parts or terms or figures from the book and bringing them together into a whole. Xenophanes, 800 BC, after Homer, let's say 520 BC. He gave us the quote, God is one, and it is the whole of God that is seeing, hearing, and thinking. Right now. That's what we have from Xenophanes. So, if even the worst can become the best, or even the wise have to also remove their problems, you can reach the ideal Hercules, a state of mind that is eternal, mind itself, pure mind, mythologically in heaven, while you can function at the same time in Hades on earth, dealing with the ignorance of human beings and the struggles they have with their problems. Which is what understanding is. It's the cognitive function of understanding that we've been seeking. In the love of understanding that this channel is about, or that we're all here to move into. So if you do reach that ideal, Hercules or Penelope, you will recognize God is one, and it's the whole of God that is seeing, hearing, and thinking right now. Xenophanes taught the great Parmenides. He was around 480. I hope these dates are accurate. I think they're pretty accurate. 480 BC. He says you won't do it to see that, to reach Hercules, Penelope, recognize God is one, and it's the whole of God is seeing right now. To see that truth, you need the dialectic. and always be on guard for the worst. Actually, I think I have this quote on a quote app. Is it working? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix my quote app because I haven't used it in a long time. It's disconnected. There is no greater defect than one can suffer than to hate the Logos, is what Socrates says, but his teacher Parmenides says, where is it? Here we go. The ideal selves remain unknowable. What? Parmenides to Socrates. What is the form of large? Ah, this is key. So, there are certain key words that have been mistranslated for the past 2,000 years, and one of them is form. The word is eidos. It's a Greek word that means idea with a capital I, not a concept, but an aspect. It means to behold. So good question, we'll get to that. Always be on the guard for the worst state of the soul. To deny Logos, or to say that those eidos, the ideal selves or the aspects of being, the eidos, are unknowable. You can't know. So don't reject the Logos or understanding, and don't reject knowledge. Unknowable. You can directly... You're well versed in literature. I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much. What a lovely thing to say. To say that the aspects of being, as mentioned by our friend in chat, eidos, are unknowable. You can't separate your soul from your body and directly apprehend the true nature of eternity all at once in the spiritual experience, or nous. Knowing everything. Not everything, but knowing reality, knowing mind itself. Or ousia, the capacity for mind to turn around and know itself. Now, I am introducing 3 Greek words here. We have to do that because if we don't have the words, we can't play the game. If you don't know what a touchdown is or a quarterback is, you're going to be pretty screwed playing football. You need those words, and we don't have them in the Greek. We talked about that last time. Just as Russians can't do philosophy because they don't have the word the, and if philosophy is to experience the mind, the beautiful, the Greeks use the word self instead of the, self beauty. Previous translations have mistranslated it as beauty itself, which kind of works but takes a lot out. You need to find the beautiful. If you don't have the word for the, how can you even know that it's possible to go on that quest? So they're stuck with poetry and prose. That's why they're really into their Dostoevsky's and stuff like that. so too do we need these keywords. Nous, ousia, and eidos. So, you can't reach the truth, so what have we got so far? Hey, even the worst can reach the truth and excellence of human functioning. Achilles, the worst. All problems are solvable through understanding. Even the wise people like Odysseus still have problems. And if you've watched an anime, you know that. Tsunade has a gambling problem. Jiraiya has a drinking problem. Has a lecherous problem. Master Roshi has probably all of the problems. So it's a very common trope. Because understanding, reaching wisdom or truth is different from the activity of removing problems. If you do reach it, you get the ideal, but you can function to help others do that, while yourself being free of those problems in your own state of being or state of mind. And Penelope, the ideal woman, demonstrating that too. Xenophanes came along after and says, hey, when you do that, you'll realize God is one. And here is a question you can take with you. So this has been updated. Instead of the whole of God that is seeing, hearing, and thinking, you can say, oops. What is the whole, make some space, that is seeing, hearing, and thinking right now? So we've turned it into a question we can carry with us, or a koan, a spiritual question, or a question about the highest goals that will keep you puzzled until you finally reach your goal. Because that puzzledness and open-mindedness is necessary. You can't think you know it already. You think you already know it, then why would you go on the quest? What is the whole that is seeing, hearing, and thinking right now? Now, you won't be able to recognize God as one and the whole or answer this question unless you master the dialectic. It says Parmenides, that came after Xenophanes. Also, never deny the logos or say you can't know. Parmenides. Also, we have, let me just check for the date. Along with Parmenides, we have Diotima. Diotima of Mantinea. So around the same time. 440. Oh, okay. A little bit after. Diotima. So there are women in this lineage like Penelope and Diotima of, I say Manitanea, but that's just because it sounds nice. The real word is, let's quit that app. Mantinea. Diotima of Mantinea. EA. Mantinea. Around, let's say 450. So Parmenides, 480. A bit younger. Say 450. She says, hey, this mastery of the dialectic, pronouncing the Greek names properly is proper effort. The one that sounds nice is fine. Yeah. Diotima of Manitanea. Rolls off the tongue, but it's Mantinea. Manitin. I throw another syllable in there. Love. Love and logos. Logos is understanding and reason and thinking and the patterns. So we use now, figuring out what exactly is the logos is our quest, of course, but understanding and language. Love and logos in ideal relationships. So you can have ideal relationships characterized by love and logos together to reach that self excellence, or to be as immortal and a friend of the gods. So echoing the idea of Hercules being in a state of mind where he's feasting with the gods. So you'd be there, friend of the gods. Now, what we've been learning is theology isn't literally. There's no actual dudes on clouds having a feast of chicken legs or turkey legs. It's a story or a mythology or a personification of these metaphysical principles we're here to understand. So let's add that to logos. Love and logos, or love and understanding. And that's where we get the idea of, sorry, let's finish this quote. You can reach self-excellence, or to be as immortal and a friend of the gods as any human. You need to throw telos in there, mate. Ah, very good. So, one of the aspects or eidos of logos is because logos isn't just logic. It's not. Okay, this is modern science. This is Aristotle, by the way. Logic is all we have. Just logic. Just following a set of premises to a logical conclusion. No. We also seek the logos. We can also directly apprehend the logos all at once. Logos isn't just rational, it's experienced as bliss and pure beauty. That's why love is our motivating force to apprehend knowing or the logos. Another aspect shared with by our friend in chat is telos. It's that to which all things move. The end, the goal, the destiny. You have to include telos in our understanding of logos. For Aristotle, friendship is just as important as love. Right. So you might not get lucky and find a girl who can do both. Good heart, good head. Where you can go have this ideal relationship like Diotima and Socrates, where you can develop stages of understanding and experience of beauty that mirrors or takes you along the stages of cognitive development. But you can have friends. So philos sophia, love of wisdom. You could also use philos for true friendship. Right, those things are tied together, yeah. But if you're lucky, get yourself a girl who can do both. Look for a Penelope type person. To be as immortal and a friend of the gods as any human can be. And as a result of that relationship, you can give birth to works, not children, but works. I mean, you can give birth to children too, of course, but give birth to works that will rival Homer and Hesiod. Don't really talk about him much. That will last for 1,000 years. So, 800 BC, Homer, giving us these epic poems, the most divinely inspired poet, so it is said. You can go from the best to the worst, you can solve problems. That is philosophical midwifery. People know philosophical midwifery. When you complete that journey and become the ideal Hercules or Penelope, you will realize God is one, and you can take with you a question as you go on that journey. Hey, as you go on this journey, can you carry a question? Normally you distinguish foreground from background to see things, or distinguish specific sounds from background sounds. But what if you take your seeing and your hearing as a whole without making that distinction? Can you view your perceptions that way? And can you also apply it to thinking? Because if our goal is to know thyself. Oh, and by the way, we should include, before all of this, know thyself from the Oracle. Yeah, so we know it from the Oracle, the Temple of Apollo associated with the Oracle of Delphi, but it's the background. It's the background principle. Oh, thank you for the follow. Principle or maxim or axiom, because hey, your activities, are they meaningful if you lack the self? Are you naturally curious about yourself? Are you naturally curious about the nature of yourself, where you came from, where you're going, what you should be doing while you're here? Are you naturally interested in your highest excellence and happiness? Are you naturally puzzled by and interested in your problems because they suck and you want to remove them? You're naturally interested in removing your problems, Achilles, and perfecting your excellence, Odysseus, and becoming Herculean or Penelopean. Why? Because that's what it means to be meaningful. Don't accept mediocrity. Reject, therefore, mediocrity. Spell check. Mediocrity is a crazy word. Mediocrity. Oops. Necessarily you can't. So this is to be in the game. Hey, if you are accepting mediocrity, can you become Penelopean or Herculean? Can you solve your problems? Can you perfect your wisdom? Nope. MEDIOCRITY. Reject mediocrity. Notice two themes, right? Know thyself, meaning avoid your problems. Avoid mediocrity. Seek excellence in knowing yourself. The background principle of the culture. What's our current maxim? Find a way of manipulating human beings so you can get them to act against their own self-interests, against the interests of humanity, against the interests of planet and all living beings, so you can exploit them for personal profit, for your short-term windfall. That's capitalism. That's the maxim our culture is based on. How can you fuck with people? Hurt them for personal gain. That's even enshrined in our laws. You have a fiduciary responsibility to fuck with people the most. Fiduciary responsibility is the fancy word for maximize profits at all expenses, at all costs. One of the reasons why our culture is sick. Human deficiency renders us creatures that can't really extend mediocrity, at least as a constant state. We can only touch wholeness at our greatest moments. That is an interesting perspective or stage. Would you agree that there are some people who say you can't even touch wholeness? Or have that problem that Parmenides warns us of, you can't even know the whole itself. Would you agree that there are some people like that? And compared to you, there would be if there is a way of, hey, what's going on over here? Oh, we're having the best fun. We're having the most fun that any channel can ever have. You're in the right place, my friends. If there is some ultimate excellence like Hercules or Penelope, where he is eternally feasting with the gods in his state of mind, or in that level of being of the whole, while still being able to, through his body somehow, function in the world of Hades or Earth, where people play out their false masks and images and their problems. If that's an ideal state. Oh, and by the way, there are 3 levels. Because if there is a state of mind of pure being or eternity or the whole, and there is a functioning ideally through understanding or the dialectic in the parts, must there be something that has that state of mind and does that functioning? Which would mean that the self transcends even mind. If there was such a goal, as given to us by Homer, would you say that the person next door from you, living next door, the guy that doesn't mow his lawn enough, who says there isn't any way of touching the whole, is of a less, or is it a stage of development less than where that current perspective you're talking about, which says you can touch it but only temporarily? Would you agree if there is that ideal, he would be at a stage that would have its own logical coherence, right? You can make an argument. You could say, come on, if God was the whole, there was such a thing as the whole of the mind of God, we would be little ants to him. Do you think God gives a shit about if you win the basketball game? Or how often you jack off in the shower? Surely God has no connection with us. Like, we could understand his position and there would be a kind of logical coherence within it. But compared to yours, because you've had some sort of experience or understanding that there is a way of touching the whole temporarily, from that perspective, you can have your own logical, coherent worldview that's better, closer to the ideal. Would you agree we could understand both positions and even rank them? Aristotle would say, Aristotle's a doofus, but anyway, we can touch wholeness, but only for a few bits. But then we get into energia. For Parmenides, no, I think Plato, and no, I guess Aristotle's answer is no. We're getting to Aristotle. He's coming up. You're a bit ahead, but we're going to get to we're going to get to Aristotle. So far, we have, you can't be in this game unless you're seeking to know yourself. Give up any axiom of exploiting people. Let go of capitalism. Or reject mediocrity. Don't settle. Okay? If you do, there is an activity called philosophical midwifery we get from Homer at 800 BC. Even the worst can become the best. Xenophanes says when you reach that ideal, Hercules or Penelope, you'll realize God is one. And you can carry with you, hey, can you view your perception as you go with this question? What is the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking? What does that do? Trying to catch up with what's been covered here. So what we're doing is we are going through the lineage of human thought. We are tracing back to the origin of philosophy to where we are now. All of this is the book. We're reading a book which gives us the parts. What we are doing now is reflecting on the parts to bring it together into a whole. Because in the book we're up to dreams. We need to see where dreams come in, an understanding of our dreams. So, Homer is the earliest. We get the idea of philosophical midwifery. Xenophanes says, hey, if you view the whole, if you have this question, your false beliefs that cause your problems that you address with philosophical midwifery will have less of an effect on you. You're not going to identify as much with your mask or ego or image of yourself, your false image of yourself, as you go through this developmental process. So carry it as a question until you realize and see. Love it. I try to follow along as best I can. Oh, great. There's about a dozen names and that's about it. So completely understandable, but we'll get there. So what is the whole? And Xenophanes is super cool because his name starts with an X, which used to be the coolest letter until Elon Musk came along and fucked it up for everyone. Parmenides was taught by Xenophanes. He said, hey, you won't reach that truth unless you master the dialectic. The dialectic is how to think, how to structure your own reasoning that allows you to follow the logos, follow the understandable, knowable, or fancy word for those two together, intelligible. The intelligible patterns or principles of reality. That's called the logos. The dialectic is how to structure your thought within 4 categories that we'll get to. Definition, demonstration, division, conclusion. That allows you to perfect your understanding, which you can only do through time. Meaning it's the kind of learning and nurture you're here to do. It's the only thing that you can learn with your soul and ingrain into your soul, learning and nurture, that you can take with you. Therefore, the meaning of life. To realize this, achieve this excellence, but also to perfect your understanding through the dialectic. At the same time, again, 2 themes: reaching the truth, removing the false; reaching justice, removing injustice; reaching excellence, removing our false models of excellence that we're motivated by. There's always the 2, purification and perfection, like Achilles and Odysseus. So, you can do it from Homer. When you do it, you'll realize God is one, and it's the whole of seeing right now. So, you'll realize that God is one, and it's also the most immediate. It's the most personal. It's the most transcendent, but it's the most ever present for you. The self. Right, yeah, so these are just 2, yes, right. So you can say, well, to reach justice, an apprehension of justice, I need to have that excellence within myself. So yes, so that's another thing. You're a bit ahead. So justice, excellence, goodness, they're all different things, right? Would you agree? But Can you say you have justice without excellence? Or can you be excellent if you're being unjust? No, you're right. These are good things. They're two different ideas, right? But you can't have one without the other. Beauty. Add that to the list. Harmony. Hey, if justice is some sort of perfect ordering of parts, a just society, a just soul, can you have justice without harmony? Can't, can you? But they're two different ideas. This is the principle of eidos. Eidos, what has been mistranslated as forms. If all of these things we've been talking about are excellences, we can say that they have by the way, they're all excellences, they have their own existence in the realm of being or pure mind. So we see them as adjectives. A beautiful puppy, a just referee who calls the right thing, a harmonious harmony, a perfectly ordered series of parts within a beautiful whole, piece of music. But we never see harmony or justice or excellence walking down the street. In other words, in the physical world, we only see them as adjectives, but they're the best kinds of adjectives. So philosophy is asking the question, hang on a second, if there are these adjectives, where the fuck is the noun? In other words, if any society can make harmony in music, or can have excellence, or have justice in any galaxy, in any time, there must be a cause that has scope over the physical world or the world of becoming because it's always in change, it's always growing or decaying. So what has scope over the physical world but never loses its power? Hey, if you have one beautiful thing and you break it and it becomes ugly, does the idea of beauty suddenly become a little bit uglier? No, it never loses its power. It has scope and it exists here. This is what we get from Diotima. If you seek the highest beauty, not beauty as an adjective, but you see beauty as a physical body as an adjective, and then many physical bodies, and then you see the principle of the beauty in physical bodies, and then you can upgrade to a beautiful soul. Find a girl who's got both. No. Well, I'll stop making that joke. Beautiful soul, beautiful societies, institutions, beautiful learnings. Eventually, you will have, ideally with a loving relationship, at every stage you put words on it, give beautiful speeches about your beautiful beloved. When you find beautiful, when you're at the level of beautiful souls, can you share logos or words that can improve her? Eventually you'll reach beauty itself. That's the noun. The fact that we are curious about beauty, we want to join with beauty. This is romance, right? I want to join with you forever. Not just forever, well, not just join with you, but completely. Romantic sentiment. Or write a poem about how we are going to be one. But also until the stars fall out of the sky. So this complete and eternal desire, or a desire for a complete and eternal connection with beauty itself, the noun, is what Diotima gives us, love and logos. Because that propels us and gives us a method to reach being. Because beauty, like justice, like excellence, like harmony, are all aspects or eidos of the same oneness. Because you can't have one without the other. That's why Socrates says, we'll get to Socrates, the exercise of philosophy is to die many times before they finally bury you. because we can separate our soul from our body through love and logos, or the dialectic, because it's also a meditation, experience the whole, as our friend said in chat. But when we come back out of that experience, because all experiences have an end, we can use our understanding and dialectic to reflect on it, just as we were now doing, to recognize, hang on a second, while it was a oneness or a wholeness, we can intellectually recognize parts. But they're not difference, they're not like taking a piece, they're aspects. That's eidos. Metaphysics is nothing other than the study of those aspects. Theology is taking that study and giving them names of superheroes or gods. Gods are just a mythology or a personification of those aspects of being. Aphrodite, beauty. How does she relate to justice? Tell a story of how Aphrodite and Apollo meet one day and go for coffee. That's true theology. The Greeks said if you take it literally, you're a barbarian. Also, if you don't have a theology, a mythology to represent metaphysics, then you're also a barbarian. I think being, as you suggested here, is a higher form of becoming. Maybe I'm jumping ahead. So becoming is the name for the physical world, because we are born and we grow and then we decay and die. Everything's in change. But the principles that apply to the physical world have to have some sort of independent existence. So because it would suck if one day 2 and 2 didn't equal 4, right? We can't have that changing. That's the logos. We can use 2 and 2 and 4 in our physical world. That's the excellence that Hercules had in Hades, understanding. That's our excellence. That's as good as we can get in the physical world. But our state of mind isn't physical. So Hercules was also in being. So being means it's eternity. Doesn't lose its power. Its nature is ousia. It's a funny word, it's a Greek word. Ousia is our capacity to turn around and know ourselves. Only in the experience, you're doing it all at once. That's why it's beautiful and blissful. And hey, some people, like the Taoists, have this experience, and because you can't have a greater experience, they think it's enlightenment. You can't get any better. And they're right. It is the greatest experience. But without understanding, without the logos, you can't reflect on the experience, as we're saying, and recognize there must be a cause, or there must be an agent having that experience. Therefore, while Socrates gave us the logos so we can reach the highest, transcending even the realm of eternity or being, the self. Plato gave us metaphysics and the dialectic from Parmenides to reach being. Aristotle rejected both, gave us materialism. Stoicism. Stoicism is using the language of metaphysics and only applying it to the physical world. Our modern educational understanding of philosophy is from Aristotle. We are Aristotelian as a culture. We have no metaphysics. We have no self. Know thyself as the goal. Our job is to reawaken this game. Because if you don't have the principles of metaphysics or the self-logos, you lack what you need to solve human problems. You also lack what you need for your excellence and reaching your highest purpose or destiny. Our job is to reawaken the self-logos. What we're doing is learning how we got to this point. Homer said it's doable. You can solve problems. So Xenophanes says, take this question with you. I agree, Aristotle stepped away from Plato in serious ways, but if you really sit down and reach his ethics, it's Platonic in nature. Well, it might be Platonic because the way we're taught how to read Plato is in the perspective of Aristotle. In other words, they don't do philosophical midwifery at college. Then how can you do fit metaphysics? There are no meditation halls at college. In other words, we'll get there. So Parmenides says, hey, the dialectic. Diotima says, you can even do it in your loving relationships. So that's 800 BC, 520 BC, 480 BC, 450 with Diotima. And Diotima and Parmenides were both teachers of the big dog, Socrates. Let's say 430. Let's say 5. Wait, it has to be after Diotima though. Yeah. 430 BC. Socrates says, hey, never heard of the guy. Oh, he's awesome. He's really cool. I call him Sock because we're bros, but you call him Mr. Socrates. He said you won't reach truth or excellence or our destiny or purpose. I don't like that word. Via that Xenophanes question plus the dialectic. So those are our methods. And also, if you're lucky, love and logos relationships. So Xenophanes, Parmenides, Diotima, you won't have that. You won't use the dialectic, that question and loving relationships to reach truth and excellence, to remove our false beliefs, the truth and excellence of so what are we developing excellence of? Well, we've got Hercules, right? So we need excellence of understanding, our state of mind, and also the self, because something has to cause mind, the cause of experience. So don't get stuck as a Taoist. There's a joke which is super funny if you're cool like us. Oh my goodness, I experienced bliss. I experienced the brilliant light of pure being. What a tragedy. I had the greatest experience possible. The tragedy is if you identify with it, because you can get stuck there. And as an experience, it will end. So there you go, back reincarnated again. Plotinus talks about this. He says, oh, why does God hate me? I had this experience of being, but now I'm out of it. Well, something has to be having a state of mind. So those are the levels. Levels of cognitive function or stages of development. 3, 2, and 1. We also have to, as we're saying, remove our false different color. Remove our, what color? Green. Remove our false beliefs or our problems. That's 4 or 5. Our false beliefs are our 4. 4. Beliefs is the cognitive function lesser than understanding. You won't remove your problems or false beliefs. And you can have a false belief about the self, a false belief about reality. So anything that undermines yourself, I suck, I'm not good enough, I'm a small bean, I'm a bad noodle. All of the stuff they try and teach you through belief. You're a sinner, you'll go to hell. You need me to oppress you, says religion. You're selfish, you're bad, you need capitalism, says the capitalist oppressors. You're a criminal, and you're bad, and if we weren't around, you'd rape your own grandmother. You need police, says those sorts of oppressors. Oh, spam.
It is spam. They are trying to convince them to flood the internet with spam.
Spam.
He's an AI guy.
It's an AI guy. Sounds like a dude would just walk around into random dudes' houses and ask him really deep questions and just suggest he doesn't know. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Charm. That's a big question. And that's one of the themes for today. How do we share it? Because Socrates was challenging everyone's way of being. But he would never get banned from the chat room. I have been banned by the crazy Twitch moderators of Emma and the Majority Report.
Freaks.
Who are freaks.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
Who says that? For telling the truth and helping and sharing. Because every human being has false beliefs that specifically block you from truth. That's one of the big issues of the book. Yeah, someone says we get cheap viewers for free.
The internet is all robots.
All robots.
He's an AI guy.
He's an AI guy.
But that's funny. It's like the whole business model is like, hey, we can trick the platforms, and then hopefully we can trick people into thinking that these are real people to do like this.
Exactly. So we're building up a got a bunch locked down the server. I do. So again, the dialectic. So we can say, yep, the dialectic requires a question. Yep, you can have dialectic in your relationships. So we can summarize this as simply the dialectic. So we can say the dialectic. But we know that we are carrying what color? Carrying know thyself from the background. We're carrying Achilles, Odysseus, Hercules, and Penelope from Homer as models to show that we can do it. It's possible. We know that we're carrying Xenophanes' question that we can carry as we go. And we know that we're carrying love and logos that we can imply do this dialectic, use the dialectic to know the self, master the dialectic to solve problems like Aristotle, to perfect our wisdom like Odysseus, to reach the excellence of Homer, and even a greater kind of excellence, the ideal woman, Penelope, because women also have to deal with men's shit. So even greater challenge. And we can carry this question, what is the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking from Xenophanes as we do the dialectic? So really, Parmenides came in clutch. The big one is the dialectic. Love and logos from but we're carrying with us all of the other people in the lineage. The dialectic to reach truth and excellence, the excellence of understanding, the excellence of the mind, and the excellence of the self. You can use the dialectic to reflect on your problems and the blocks that you have, to remove your blocks like Achilles did. Dialectic here. But Socrates says you can't do either. He says his big contribution and point was you need different color. Let's go yellow. You need to understand, which means the dialectic, dreams. For both. This was the big... Hey, yo again. I'm curious, do you think this book is correct or purely a study to try and understand where it's coming from? I do think it's correct. I think it's the greatest book ever fucking written. Yes, I think it's correct. But don't believe the book. The idea is the book will give you puzzles, give you questions. You use the material of the book to answer those questions. No interpretation. You don't bring your own beliefs in, or you don't be blocked by your beliefs from seeing what's there. In other words, in reading this book, you're learning what reading is. To read without interpretation. This is what we're doing now. Like, know thyself, you need to start with a question. Question. You can have a question in two different directions. About the truth, or about what's false that's causing your problems. This is from the book. All I'm doing is bringing together the pieces of the book to show you what the book is about. But also, there is a feeling in the body. One of the reasons why we can conclude that we are here to learn, specifically learn this, is for each of these stages of cognitive development towards the truth and towards removing the false, there's also a feeling state. You, as a human being, you're not an AI program.
He's an AI guy.
You're not an AI guy.
The internet is all robots.
You're not a robot.
It is spam. They are trying to convince them to flood the internet with spam.
We go through what it feels like to be puzzled. Puzzled. There's a feeling in the body. We feel puzzled or stung. Stung by a stingray and all out at sea. But then we need to this is a realization you don't know. What book are we talking about? The big boy Bible book? Socrates and Jesus, a dialogue in heaven. Socrates and Jesus meet up in heaven and they have this banger of a conversation that we've been reading for a while. And you can find the previous episodes on YouTube, a link below, and you can even find a PDF. So we're doing a bit of a review of where we are. So, I'm not going to finish. But have a question, collect the right opinions, which means this is why from the text that follows the logos. That's why we read Socrates and this author, Dr. Pierre Grimes, because these are two people who've gone there. Just as if you want to be a mechanic, you read a book written by a master mechanic. If you want to be an architect, find someone who's mastered architecture. What we want to know is the meaning of life, the nature of reality, how we can reach our excellence and remove our problems. So we need to find someone who has that. Dr. Grimes and Socrates. As we've been talking about, the only translation of Plato, which writes about Socrates' conversations that's worth a damn, is the Balboa. If you want to do philosophy, read a Balboa translation of Plato or anything by Pierre Grimes. Let me catch up in chat. I'm a little bit behind. I'm absorbing the information. Oh, good for you. I'm curious because I'm disagreeing with parts, but it's fascinating to delve into how these people are making sense of the world. I want to know your position. Yeah, good. That's the thing. We're also learning what it means to be on this quest of philosophy. Because this is the archetype of the hero's journey.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
The hero, or the true philosopher. So here is you with your wizard's robe and your wizard's staff. Socrates says, many are the staff bearers, but the only true mystics are philosophers. Because this is also, not only is this the paradigm or the model of the hero's journey, it's the paradigm of spirituality. Just as you don't have to believe a mechanic if you're going to become a master mechanic. You would never. If you're ever a mechanic apprentice and you say, hey, why does the gasket go there? And they said, hey, just believe me, bro. It's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not believing shit. I want to master it. I want to understand it. I want to be able to use that understanding to have experience or knowledge that I can use for my benefit. Fuck belief. So of course, the system of understanding is also the system of spirituality. Anyone like religion that says believe me is oppressing you, either out of purposefully or out of their own ignorance. Both. But what we need is, as we learn, we develop questions and we put them in our inventory. So we've got a question sack in our inventory and we practice the dialectic, reasoned 4 stages of reasoned reflection, or 4 categories, to create our own likely hypotheses. It's not truth. They're likely hypotheses or ifs. You don't identify with them. I like this explanation, so now I'm not gonna. I like the Christian explanation. I'm a Christian. Never identify with a hypothesis. That gets you stuck. I am a Jew. I am a Muslim. I am a Catholic. I am a Protestant. I am a materialist. No. Don't pick teams. Carry them. Carry a whole bunch. And as you continue to learn, you'll see which ones pan out, which ones don't. You can make better ones. That's the 2 things. There are only questions and hypotheses in the game. So yeah, so good. Keep questions and don't ever believe. We're after understanding. Understanding is seeing it yourself. You see through your understanding. Making you able, at the end of the hero's journey, Harry Potter leaves the house, or Luke Skywalker leaves the moisture farm, or Frodo leaves the village, but eventually he goes on an adventure to be. This is what we're talking about. This is the archetype. And you end up coming home with a new ability. So in other words, as you go through this process, wonder about what you're going through, because hopefully you will be able to turn around and pass it on to someone else, and you'll know what it takes. You know the ups, the downs, the sacrifices, the difficulty, the counterattacks. So yeah, hang on a second, I gotta piss. Be right back. Whoops. I'm back. I have returned. Whoops. I'll watch. I think I prefer PDF. Can you link both at the end of the stream? Oh, it's linked below. If you're on YouTube, it's posted at the end of each of the videos, and there's a link below in Twitch. You can also join the Discord if you want. You get a notification when we go live. Do you know Plato's real name is actually Aristocles? I didn't know that. I think Plato means big boned. Yeah, I heard that. Like broad shouldered or something like that. Is that Plato? You can carry contradictory teams. You can't carry contradictory teams. Well, they're hypotheses. They're likely stories. Right, if it's a contradiction, then it's not a likely story. That's why you don't put just dumb old beliefs in here. We need to learn the dialectic. That's what we're learning from Parmenides. There are 4 categories and 2 sets of exploring an idea. If you realize there's a contradiction in one of them, then therefore this conclusion isn't right. I'm not taking this as a hypothesis. But if you don't know, for example, some people say, oh, you can't know reality other than a glimpse. Some that says, yes, like Hercules, you can stay there with your state of mind. Take both. You don't know yet. The thing with philosophy is, it's different from modern science or materialism that thinks everything is just physical perception, Aristotle, because the understanding you verify in your own direct experience. In other words, if there's such a thing as beauty itself, or the ideal of Hercules or Penelope, it's for you. You get to go to the party. And at the party, there'll be balloons. Metaphorically. Just so I know I'm getting it, and you claim religion is oppressive by nature, doesn't provide understanding in totality. Right, again, okay, we're about 75, I think, episodes into this book. So we have gone through ourselves a dialectic on the nature of belief in comparison to understanding, to come to the conclusion that the root cause of all human problems is the cognitive functioning of belief. Individually, we get false beliefs from childhood. I suck, I can't do it, that kind of stuff. Or I'm a Jew, I've got to kill the Palestinians. Or I'm a capitalist, I've got to starve the poor. Those sorts of things, sexist belief, racist beliefs. But fundamentally, it's a false image of yourself that underlines your false beliefs and your state of mind, that causes your activity, that we look for repeating cycles of negative activities or blocks, failures. That's what we're looking for. So that's the cause of all individual problems, allowing Aristotle to reflect on himself in this kind of a way, recognize his failures that he was blind from seeing, or that was a repeating block, caused the death of his beloved Patroclus' cousin, trace it back to a state of mind, trace that state of mind back to a family upbringing, a certain relationship between your parental figures when you were wee, just a wee little baby chicken like this. And instead of seeing what was actually there, because you didn't yet have the dialectic in logos and you were dependent on them, you end up taking the blame, creating a negative image of yourself. Either my parents were lying to me, they weren't as loving and knowing as I think they were, and this whole scene was a lie, or the problem is with me. So that's where we give up our quest. We give up our seeking of the truth of self and reality for a role within the family clan, a way of being, a state of mind, and an image of the self. Our life becomes a playing out of that repeating problem to further prove, I guess I sucked after all. I guess I sucked after all. I guess I sucked after all. Becoming more and more attached to our false image of ourself, our pathologos, sick logos, pathos, sick, logos, reason, belief. That's life. That's the cause of all human problems and blocks and injustice. Societally is nothing other than taking those root beliefs and saying it's not just that I believe it because I'm a Smith or a Jones or an Anderson or a Goldberg or whatever. No, God says it. That's religion. A universalization of your personal false beliefs, and beliefs in principle are in opposition to truth and understanding. If you understood something, you wouldn't have to believe the guy in the funny hat, or mummy or daddy, or dear leader Trump, or whatever. So, while you can project or venerate, put on high, universalize, pedestalize your personal beliefs by saying God says so, can you show an understanding? Fuck you, it's faith. It's believe me or else you're out of the team. That's why I'm in such a huge beef with Emma from the Majority Report. Her Twitch moderators are believers and fascists. I shared a true understanding, and instead of reflecting with reason to understand, then maybe they could have learnt something. They said, I don't agree with that. My mummy and daddy doesn't like that. Fuck off. Immediate ban. That's this huge Twitter beef that's going viral right now, and some say is breaking the internet.
Wow!
But this is the thing, all human beings are in this game. We all reject our own development through logos and understanding to know understanding, 3, mind, to know the nature of mind, 2, knowledge, and 1, self. We're all blocked. We all have human problems because we all have parental figures. That's the stage of human development. So all wars were started by the universalization of personal false beliefs by politics, the law says so, or religion, God says so. All problems are solved by understanding, specifically the dialectic. The dialectic is the structure of understanding that makes use of the model of understanding. The model or paradigm is called the logos. Now we have to use those words because if you don't have those words, you won't see it. And we don't have them in English. So I know it's weird, but don't freak out. By the way, that's a summary of what we've come to already. Don't believe it. Take it as a question. And as you learn the dialectic and as you go through the old episodes as we continue to read, you create your own dialectic. The thing about a dialectic is it's not a debate, it's not a belief, it's not an opinion. Meaning you can repeat the steps in that reasoning over and over again. So you can call your friend and say, hey, buy me a coffee. And they'll say, why am I buying the coffee? Because I am going to ask you a series of questions where we come to agreement at every step that will lead you to a conclusion on truth and understanding that will benefit you. That's the dialectic. The opposite is debate. Here are my personal opinions and I'm going to attack you and win and defeat you. It's fucked. Believers do debate. Charlie Kirk. That kind of shit. Good people do dialectic. But again, it's a skill we have to learn. And one of the difficulties is sharing it with people. Because no family grows up doing the dialectic. And because the dialectic is what we need to free ourselves from our false beliefs, all of your dearly held beliefs and your dearly held clan identity is going to be challenged by the dialectic So you need to develop character and courage to play the game.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be a conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only was wrong, but lied to him, and that he fell for it. All of that takes so much courage and character.
Courage and character is part of the game. So again, don't believe anything I say. Find something you're puzzled about, find the question. And then as we get back into the book, use the parts of the book to solve the question into the dialectic. It's like a video game. Find the puzzle. Oh, the door to the next level is locked. Find the solution. You can't bring with you a key from another game. I was playing Silent Hill and I found this key. I'm going to take it with me into Resident Evil and open the mansion door. No, you can't do that. That's bringing your beliefs with you. We need to solve the question with the text itself. And there are various tools we learn to use that, primarily the dialectic and analogy. So we're learning how to think and solve problems, but we're also learning how to make our own video games and stories and mythology. Saved by the P. Like that episode of Friends when someone got stung by a stingray and had to get peed on. They were also saved by the P. Next level moving speed. Well, we're cooking here. I've got so many chatters that got good questions. The balloons with B material will be material. There you go. Interesting. So belief is in opposition to truth in your view, not my view. Again, that's the perspective of belief. I don't care about personal opinions or beliefs. What we want to find is understanding. That which is true, always true, demonstrably true, because only understanding benefits. Think of it this way. If you're flying a plane and there was some guy in first class who's had a few whiskeys, he's like, yeah, it's my opinion that I'm the pilot now. I think I can fly a plane better than that pilot, who's a woman. Can you believe it? Does his personal opinions or belief mean two shits to anyone? Would you let him fly the plane? What happens if he did? The pilot, on the other hand, has to demonstrate an understanding. To become a pilot, you have to remove all your false beliefs about Jesus flying the plane if you believe hard enough, because that will crash the plane. You won't get your license. Hopefully, Jesus. Opinions and beliefs are the cause of our ignorance and problems. Our job is to sacrifice them because they're false and harmful, to learn what's true, always. Because it's only that which is universally true, or principles, that we can take with us after this lifetime. We can't take our money or our dumb opinions, or we can take our dumb opinions, but that causes our problems in our reincarnation and in our next life. So, but that's in the book as well, but we'll get to that. So it's not an opinion, it's understanding. Aren't beliefs inescapable though? That's what we get from Homer. So right at the beginning, we get Achilles. Achilles is someone who has the worst beliefs. He was the most attached to his family clan way of being, because he was literally half God. If you think about everyone's beliefs, everyone thinks their parents are special. My parents loved me and knew everything. But what about your next door neighbor? No, they yell at their kids. That's not true love. What about the guy across the street? Oh no, he's an alcoholic. He doesn't know anything. What about the guy over there? No, he's a racist. He doesn't know. But their kids think so. Same thing with any other religion. Hey, the religion of those people, oh, they're in a cult. The religion over there, nah, they're nuts. The religion over there. Didn't Joseph Smith just invent that as a grifting thing? What about that religion? Isn't Scientology just a scam? Yes. What about your own? That's called integrity and maturity, to recognize everyone has a kind of loyalty to their own family way of being and thinks God or reality will justify it. Integrity is reflecting on that and realizing no one's parents were right. In principle, they can't be, because it's belief. You can't present the truth of reality through belief. And in fact, what you find is all parents were imitating the kind of cosplayer of the Noah that their parents did to them. Their parents to their parents from their parents, all the way back to the cave. That's called the family curse in mythology. Now, Achilles has it worse because one of his parents was Zeus or God or something. And he has all these magic powers, so he's the most blessed. He's the greatest fighter and stuff. In other words, he has all of the greatest ability to be the greatest jerk. The worst possible tyrant or worst person. Even he was able to go through the stages of dialectic to find his false beliefs that he didn't even know he had, blind spots, and free himself. That's Achilles. That's right at the beginning of the game. We get Achilles. Odysseus is someone who has already had a level of wisdom, but still had to do that as well. Hercules and Penelope were two people who finish. They've reached the ideal. So it is possible. Even if you're the worst, even if you're the best, it's still possible and necessary to do philosophical midwifery. Again, don't believe me. Do it. Become free. Become Herculean or Penelopean. You're against debate as well. No, again, I said that would be a personal opinion. Would you agree that when you come in with a debate, you fight for the opinions you come in with, rather than coming to a new conclusion? You come in closed-minded, and you try and fight someone? And by the way, for all of the philosophical debates or political debates you've seen, do we still have fucking Nazis? Do we still have disgusting capitalism that rewards with billions of dollars those who murder children or starve children or remove healthcare? In other words, has debates ever solved anything, ever? Or does it make you more loyally entrenched in whatever dumbass opinions you've come in with that you've been fighting for? Debates, Socrates calls anti-logos. Philodoxia, love of opinions. Philonikos, love of fighting. Debate is how to be a good person, how to reason well, how to benefit others. And that's what we're here to learn. Because we got dialectic. You won't reach the truth and you won't remove your problems unless you have the dialectic, says Parmenides. Diotima says, and by the way, you can use the dialectic in relationships to have a truly loving relationship. Love and understanding together. Socrates says, hey, you can't develop this truth and reach truth and develop excellence of understanding mind and self through the dialectic. You can't remove your false beliefs, problems, and blocks through the dialectic unless you also have dreams. That was the big insight that Socrates gave us. Need dreams. Socrates was in the process of presenting all the things that we've said so far, or presenting the logos and the dialectic and the study of the eidos, study of being, metaphysics. As mythology. He says, I'm not very good at making poetry, but I'm going to take Aesop's fables and I'm going to change them because you also have to share. To share. Or pass on the Dharma. Dharma means spiritual teaching, which is the mean analogy as Parmenides, or let's say Diotima, as Diotima was to Socrates as teacher to student, so too Socrates, through his mythology, can teach us. I think debates have solved lots. Name one. I've had lots with myself that have changed my views on multiple occasions. Well, then you lost the debate. You're a loser. I'm kidding. Taught me things. I'm a big proponent of debate as a way to reach what is true. Perhaps I'm stubborn. Well, what I would suggest is perhaps you were not... See, debating isn't about truth. It's about winning. So when you go to debate school, they say, here's your position. We're going to tell you what it is. Completely irregardless of truth. All immigrants are bad. Here's your position. All immigrants are good. Now fight. There's a winner or a loser. Now, what the friendly art is, Socrates deems it the friendly art. I think Parmenides calls it the friendly art. Socrates. Both. Philos, friendly art, is, hey, would you agree with this? You do? Okay, next step. Would you agree with this? Notice we're together. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
If you don't, I'm stuck here. That's okay. We can break down so that while there's a dialectic as a whole going on, we can break down this part through the dialectic to explain. What's the dialectic? Let's go back. We'll put it under here. Got it from Parmenides. Hey. By the way, what's the most primary unit of thought? The very first thing you just... I am bound by the shackles of experimental lessons I've learned and also want to understand what you're saying. See, that's integrity. To recognize that you are a perfect representation of all of the forces upon your soul up until this point. Your childhood, your learning, your education, your society, but not only that, maybe also your previous reincarnations. That recognition of the perfection of everything within the logos is required, which means no punishment for being wrong, ever. No idea of sin. You made a mistake, you spilt the juice, that's because you suck. You're a girl and girls are the... Have you heard the Adam and Eve? Women are the women are the cause of sin and you are less. You must oppress the women.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
That kind of
Don't
stuff.
be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting. Never punishment. You're a perfect representation of all of the forces or learning and nurture upon your soul, which means two things. Which means you can understand every problem or block you face, because it's all understandable, solve it, and you can perfect yourself so you can purify what's false and perfect yourself to continue that learning and nurture to reach the excellence. But we better have a model of what's excellent. Hercules, Penelope. Someone who's mastered understanding, mastered the dialectic, and can help people through their own problems, through this reasoned reflection together in a friendly way to truth, either to truth or to remove what's false, midwifery and philosophy. While yourself having gone through that process and recognize your soul is eternal and your nature of mind is in being, but also recognizing, hey, even though that's the highest state of mind, it has to have a cause, or there has to be something that has it. Just as you have mind, you have your car, but you're not your car, even if Andrew Tate says so. Therefore, the self is beyond that. Self, 1. Mind, 2. Dialectic, 3. The state of self, the state of mind of pure ousia, the excellence of understanding. Hercules, Penelope. So what is this dialectic that we get from the greatest book? They call the Parmenides the greatest book never read. Because if you have the dialectic, because it's the structure of structure itself, it's the structure of the logos, you can use that structure to say, these are all of the possible ways of thinking that can exist. These are all equally so, they each have their own spiritual experience or possible states of mind. Equally so, they can be represented as stages of history or kinds of religions or cultures. We don't have to pick teams. I like the Jewish one, I'm a Jew. I like the Muslim one, I'm a Muzzy. I like the Christian one, I'm a Chrissy? I don't know what the word is for that. No, we understand it as a whole. Why would you? By the way, that's belief. Belief is to accept a limit on your understanding. Why is the world 4,000 years old? Shut up, have faith. But dinosaurs, but fossils, but radioactive decay says that we're much older than that. Doesn't matter. If you believe the world is more than 4,000 years old, you can't come to the picnic for Jesus. You have to accept a limit on your thinking, on your being, on your growth. You can't change. You will always be a Christian, always and forever. That's why limit in opposition to unlimited. You're a part in opposition to the whole. That's the nature of belief. It's a conflict with the greater from the lesser. I am curious about the assertions you are making around things like reincarnation. Good. Evolve that curiosity into a question. Keep it in your question sack. That's what it means to be on a quest. To carry a question is to be on a quest.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Sounds a lot like you had a belief. Nope, not a belief. What we're saying, that's what we've been saying, right? None of this is a belief. Because beliefs are stupid. Beliefs are in conflict. Belief is a limit. Beliefs are bad. Beliefs are cause of human suffering. You have to understand for yourself through a series of stages of reflection we call dialectic or understanding. But even then, it's just a likely hypothesis or an if. You have to confirm it for yourself. This is the difference from modern science and philosophy. There is no confirmation. There is no knowledge. Aristotle says there is no knowledge. He draws a line. Materialism, Aristotelianism, the Roman tradition says, hey, this experience of reality all at once, or ousia, doesn't exist. This is the condition Parmenides says you have to be on alert for. The worst state of the soul is to say this realm of being is not knowable. Aristotle. The Romans against the Greeks. Emperor Justinian, who says, hey, I'm going to kill all the philosophers and create Christianity. You can't go there. All you can do is just believe me, bro. But you get to experience. Here's the balloons. See? You get to go to the party. Someone was telling you, as a saying, you don't send your slave to the banquet or the orgy. If there's this brilliant light of being that, by the way, the quote that was mentioned earlier in today, someone said, Socrates says he knew nothing. No, he didn't say that. That's a misquote. He says, I know what knowledge is. It's this. Other people don't know that. So they confuse their dumbass opinions and beliefs for knowing. To the point where they say they know things that can't be known. because they're not the sorts of things that are knowable. What Socrates says was, because I know what knowing is, I'm not going to confuse that which is unknowable for what I know. And that distinction between what knowledge really is here and what people claim, I know that the whites are the best. No, that's your opinion. That's your belief. That's an image, shapes and colors, baby. Baby brain. That's the quote. So if you're hearing about the state of knowledge where you can confirm these hypotheses, so long as they're not about, how many beans there are in China, these are dialectics on beauty, justice, excellence, reincarnation, the soul, eternity, truth, goodness, oneness, the logos. So long as we're wondering about that and applying our dialectic to that, it's a kind of focused attention for an extended period of time with an open mind because we're carrying a question, a friendly attitude, focused on the right kinds of things that are eternal. Formally, all of those are the conditions for meditation. And because we're meditating on these things that exist, it can culminate into contemplation. In other words, you get to go to the party. Contemplation means you join with your object of sustained focus or meditation. So in other words, it's fine to hear Diotima or Socrates talk about his yoga with Diotima to reach pure beauty or bliss. That's fine to hear about it. But eventually you're going to have to ask the question, well, can I come? Can I come to the party? Do I get an invitation? And this is part of it. We are understanding that there are stages of cognitive development or cognitive functioning. And this is where we're in the book, because Socrates says, hey, you can't do this unless you study your dreams. If our dreams show an understanding of those things, if dreams show an understanding of the truth to guide us in our development, understanding of our problems, what must the dream maker know? It must know the different cognitive functions: belief, understanding, knowing or mind, and the mysterious cognitive function of the self, which is beyond even knowing. How can it guide you through your development out of your problems and through those stages of excellence if it didn't know each of the parts and the whole? Therefore, the dream maker must have a knowing of the whole of cognitive functions and its parts. It must know each of the whole of stages of evolution. If to talk to you about your problems, it must know the whole of your life, past, present, and future, the parts and the whole. It must know your purpose. So these are all things that our dream maker must know, and that's what Socrates gave us. Let me catch up with the chat. Hold beliefs about reincarnation. Yes, good point. We're going to outline the stages of dialectic, practice it, master it, see through it, because not only does it allow you to help others through the dialectic, help them reason through their problems or reason through their reading to reach truth, you have to have your nose in a book. You can't become a master mechanic unless you're, reading the manual. That's why we read on this channel. But yeah, and eventually you'll experience, if you stay in the game, genuinely, you'll get to experience it. So, and if you know it, then you don't have to believe anyone. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
You believe it too? Yeah, not about. An excellent way to go is to test each opposing idea against each other. Yes. Well, not oppose, but follow the... See, Socrates doesn't say, I disagree, let's fight. He said, okay, let's take your position. Let's follow it step by step through the stages of the dialectic to its conclusion. When we reach the conclusion, we could say, hang on a second, did it pan out? Was there a contradiction? Was there a logical flaw in it? In which case, we can conclude it can't be the case. Some people call that Socratic humor or Socratic irony, because if you take a bad position and you play out its implications through the dialectic, you reach an absurdity and you can laugh. That's kind of the role of a comedian. To show the absurdity of one position, to bring to light the truth of understanding. But again, it's a new thing we have to learn. That's what we do on the channel here. This is what I'm not quite understanding. I'm having a hard time figuring out how you can assert a claim without holding it as a belief. Belief comes from someone else, right? You believe someone when they tell you. I believe my mummy. I believe my pastor. I believe Donald Trump. I believe in Jeebus. But beliefs have nothing to do with truth, right? You can believe you're a scientist, and then you can post stuff about COVID online. Doesn't mean anything. So you can start by saying, well, yeah, I guess not. Beliefs have nothing to do with truth. You can just believe any old shit. Like the guy, the first class guy on the plane. I believe I'm a pilot. Well, no, you're just drunk. So what? By the way, this is the 5th position. We've got understanding, mind, self, and false beliefs. There is a stage below called mass of differences or strict dualists. There is no understanding. Everything is belief. All beliefs are equal. There's no model of truth. The modern Democrats. Hey, let's never fight back against fascism. Let's allow fascist believers to be in charge. Let's compromise with ignorance. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and all those fuckheads. No, that's a bit harsh. They're not fuckheads. They're functioning in a shitty way. This idea that there is no truth, it's all just opinions, bro. And everyone has their own opinions. And if it's your opinions that women should be subjugated, that's just as true as my opinion that women are equal. Bullshit. No. One opinion is wrong, another one is not an opinion, it's true because we can understand it. Understanding refers to true universal principles. Belief is just any old shit. Would you believe something correct? Well, there is that little sliver. There is a kind of belief that's different called right opinion. For example, before you develop understanding of how to fix a car by seeing it for yourself, following the steps, seeing the parts, seeing how the parts are ordered, seeing how the parts fit within a hole of an engine. And then you can go on and test your understanding and experience, knowledge, gain mastery. You're going to have to learn from someone. In other words, you don't know yet whether everything Socrates is saying is true. But you can come to not a belief, not belief. Belief is based on imitation. My parents looked strong and smart. I'd have a beer with Donald Trump. I believe him. No, it's from someone else and it's based on ignorance and imitation. But a right opinion is, hang on a second, this mechanic has been fixing cars for 20 years. Everyone gives him a glowing review. He's fixed my car a bunch of times. He seems to be a pretty onto it person. He's trained other apprentice mechanics. So from that, I can come to a reasoned hypothesis that I can learn the right opinions from him temporarily until I bring them together for myself and understanding. That's why Socrates went to Diotima. You have to follow a lead, and you have to have a reasoned opinion that it's worth risking it. Same for this channel. I could just be some crazy jabroni. But you can reason, hang on a second, he seems pretty cool, and he's got awesome sound drops.
The primary purpose of pools is not to murder. It is for enjoyment and cooling off.
See? That's funny. And
Here we go. Oh, enough of this crap, you know?
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
he seems to be reasoning, running lots of... I've forgotten what I was talking about. I got wrapped up in my soundboard. But eventually you're going to have to take a risk to learn something. You might be wrong. I could be a grifter. I could be secretly trying to sell you something. But if you can reason, but here are some red flags. First of all, are they charging anything? I'm not charging anything. I don't even have affiliate here. Here's another red flag. Did they ever say, believe me? That's a huge red flag. If your master mechanic says, oh, hey, when you say to him, why does the gasket go above the carburetor? Just believe me. What's going to happen? Whenever someone comes in with a problem with their spark plug or carburetor, you're going to have to run to him and say, please, Daddy, please tell me, what do I do to fix it? I never understood it for myself. You just said, believe me, bro. And I believe you because you're my priest or imam or preacher or minister or rabbi. Please tell me what to think. And he'll turn around and say, first I want you to give me some money. Then I want you to take off your pants. Manipulation. So if anyone says, believe me, point to them and say, you're fucked. No, don't say that. I don't know. You'll know what to do when the time comes, but you can recognize that it's not someone worth learning from. No one who ever says belief is good has ever helped anyone. In principle. Because while the modern Dems who say nothing is anything, anything is nothing, there is no truth, it's all just opinions, it's all relative to perception, created the condition for Trump to get in again, because that's nothing. They're not helping anyone. So no one's going to vote for the Democrats, the establishment Democrats. In other words, strict dualists, there are no model, there is no whole. Creates the conditions for fascism. Fascism is number 4, belief, clan identity. I don't give a shit about reason and evidence. Trump's a liar, he's lied 1 million times. That's a fact. Facts are stupid. I trust him. I have belief. Believers are in conflict with reason and understanding and growth, because as soon as you understand, you don't have to believe. If you grow out of the clan. If you improve, you show that they weren't wise to begin with. Belief's fucked. Belief is the cognitive function that's the cause for all individual and collective problems. And what we can do is understand why that has to be the case in principle by looking at how it functions as a cognitive function and compare it to the number 3, understanding, the dialectic. Why is it important to understand medicine and not just believe you're a surgeon? Let me catch up with chat. I'm with you. That's how I know you're smart. You agree with me. Can you believe something correct? Oh, well, yeah. Would you say that I believe I'm a pilot, or can you say, no, I am a pilot? It's not a belief. It's something I can demonstrate because I've had to do a test to demonstrate understanding. This is a key distinction because we're raised in this culture. You either have beliefs or you retreat to the apparent safety of saying nothing is true, it's all opinion. We have to learn that there is a paradigm. And I'm in this huge beef with Emma from the Majority Report right now.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
Because she has this Gestapo Twitch moderating people who simply because they don't understand it, they just banned me from the chat for saying something honest and true. What I was saying is, hey, Emma, you have been saying that the Democrats are failing because they don't have principles or a model. You've been saying it for months now. You won't be able to see that model unless you have a name for it. Here is the name. It's called the Logos. I know it's funny because you're not familiar with it and it's not English, but here it is. And a Twitch moderator says, I don't understand that. You're banned. And that's why the internet's breaking right now. It's going viral. This huge drama beef. Two of the greatest creators on the platform, me and Emma. Huge beef. I'm with you. I would believe my opinions are correct, therefore a sliver of truth. Yeah, everyone thinks that. Everyone agrees with their own opinions. That's why when someone says, I'm a realist, I laugh, because all they're saying is, I agree with all of my own opinions. Yeah, of course you think your opinions are real. That's what opinions are. In order to communicate, we need to be able to speak to the person who disagrees by saying, I acknowledge you believe you are correct, but I don't think you are correct. Let's talk about it. Yeah. So that's part of the art, right? That's once we go through this process, how do we share it with others? So that's neat. So your charm, you might call that. How do we reach out? It's true, I do enjoy the sound drops. Hooray!
I'm a real living being.
I'm a real living being too. What else? This one.
There's only two options at the end of an argument. One, you're wrong, but now you always get to be right about that topic going forward, so you get to learn something, which is always a plus. Or two, you're right.
And you get to revel in being right. It's a win, it's a win, it's a win, it's a win, win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
There are some beliefs even you have to submit to, though. I disagree. No, understanding. Dude, understanding, man. Understanding rocks. To believe anyone. Who are you going to believe? Mummy? Daddy? The guy with the funny hat and wears the dress? How far has that gotten us? Because belief can't solve problems. So as we've been seeing that the cognitive functions we use, or the elements of cognition that we use to see and perceive and think, whole and part. Everything you've seen is a whole or a part of a whole. Same and different. Everything you've seen is same and different. This is same as my coffee mug in that it's an object. It's different. So what we're doing is we are understanding itself on this channel. What makes understanding? What's the model? It's called the Logos. Don't get freaked out. It's called the Logos. What are its parts? They're called the selfers. They're called the selfers because self is an honorific. Understanding uses qualities that have their own existence or selfhood. You've never seen whole and part, or beauty or justice, but you can recognize it. They have their own independent existence in being. So even if the physical world gets blown up, 1 and 1 will still be 2, or whole and parts will still exist as principles. So they're called the selfers. They're the aspects we talked about earlier, mistranslated in modern education as forms. They're not forms, they're eidos, they're aspects. So metaphysics or true philosophy is studying them. Whole, part, same, different, like, unlike. Beauty, justice, excellence. And so duads, monads, and triads, greater, lesser, equal. Selfers. Understanding makes use of it. Like we said, hey, understand the gasket as a part, understand how it functions as a whole. Next, how is it the same as the gasket? How is it different? Different functioning maybe. How is it like the carburetor? How is it unlike? How does it function in motion and in rest? So this is understanding. It's the use of the parts together, providentially. Because ultimately, the state of Hercules is someone whose state of mind is the whole, and he's functioning through understanding in an intelligent and caring way. The name for that is providence to the parts. Okay? Belief, you have to... So one of those... Here. Belief... where is it? Yeah. So these are some of the selfers. These are the selfer pairs. So someone who has understanding, hey, the master mechanic sees the whole of the engine and relates it in an intelligent dialectical, using the dialectic, not believe me, bro, or I am going to destroy you in a debate, like those YouTube slop videos. 20 fascists against a normal person. That doesn't help anyone. I'm going to use my understanding of the whole to relate it to where you are as a part in your level of understanding. Where are you at right now as a part? Or the whole of the engine relative to the part we're talking about. So it's a providential connection between the two. Believers have to accept a limit. Christian only. No Harry Potter for you. Only marry a Jew. Never show your face because you're a woman. Pay your tithe. We Joneses are racists. We only associate with other racists. A limit. How do religious or any beliefs, how do they function towards the whole? They're literally blowing up the world. Some willfully, because if we blow up the world, Jesus comes back. Ignorance. So, they only are a part and they're at war with the whole. They are only limited and they are against freedom. You can't be free, you have to be a Jew. We will murder you, Palestinians. Fuck freedom, says the Jews to the Palestinians. Not all Jews, yes, all religious people. Now, specifically, you might not go as far as to kill people, but that's what it means to be a believer. As you go back to the other Jews and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't, genocide these children. Heretic! But Moses said so, but God spoke to me. Belief can't help anyone ever. You can't believe your way into doing surgery or fixing your computer or making an invention. You can use beliefs to justify subjugating women, doing a holy war, genociding people. So we can start by seeing that all human conflict is based around belief and is always in opposition to understanding and universal principles that understanding uses that benefits everyone. Not just the rich, not just the Jews, not just the men, not just the whites. Universal principles. Belief is always a clan identity that's a part. What we are doing is understanding why that's the case and why that's always the case. Any planet who functions through belief is going to have this problem. Any alien species at any period of history. Because we are breaking down an understanding of understanding. These are the units. Everyone uses the same selfer terms, selfers, with a different relationship. Understanding is the whole providentially to the parts. Here, your state of mind of Hercules and your functioning of Hercules. Intelligence and care. Strict dualists, it's all relative, bro. Materialists, modern Dems, have this line, this green line is, hey, it's all just opinions and beliefs. There is no understanding. We're all different. We can't become the same. We're all in time and materialists. There is no experience of eternity. So that's a strict dualist, a line. Only the lesser, never the greater. That's 5. Strict dualists. 4. Belief. I am limited and I'm going to attack anyone free. Fuck your freedom for abortion. Fuck your freedom to express yourself. Fascists, Nazis, this is the right-wingers. Right-wing or conservatism isn't a political party. by definition, it doesn't have an understanding of a model and it doesn't use it to benefit its subjects. It's a belief party, pathologos belief. It's always one in conflict with the other. Now, of course, we've been talking a little bit today about the if there's 5 strict dualists, 4 belief, 3 understanding, 2 is that going to the party, experiencing it all at once with the balloons, which is the highest positives of both, the greatest whole of all of the parts, etc. You can play with the rest. That's important because as we have that experience, we have to reflect on it. Hey, what was your experience like, bro? I experienced everything all at once. Tell me about it. Put words on it. We're not here to debate. I am here to ask you questions, dialectic, systematically, dialectic, in a friendly way, dialectic. I'm not giving you my words. I'm allowing your words to come forward. I might synthesize your words or give you a couple of new words if you're ready for them to simplify or unify or help you conclude, but almost all of the words are from you. I mean, they are all from you. I can help you bring them together. Put words on it. I experienced infinity. Now you, with this understanding as a dialectician, an understander, Herculean, oh, infinity? That sounds like unlimited. And if it was a genuine spiritual experience, it has to be the highest kind. Well, I mean, there will be levels, but it also has to come with a kind of limitedness because it's the best of both together. So you might ask him a question. Oh, really? Infinite? Yeah. Oh, interesting. Can I ask you a question? Oh, sure. I love reflecting on this because like a dream, if I don't reflect on it in the afterglow, it will fade away as a memory. Understanding nails it down. Understanding rocks. That's why we love understanding. Philos, understanding in Greek, dianoia, philodianoia. That's the art that we're here to learn as human beings and on this channel. Oh, great. You're open to understand. That's good. By the way, it was infinity. In all directions. So get him to expand the idea of unlimited. I mean, you weren't just looking at infinity in that direction. No, all directions. Ah. Was it seeing? I never thought about that. But it was kind of seeing and hearing and thinking all at once. Xenophanes. Oh, interesting. Good thing you asked me that question. I'm so glad I offered to buy you coffee today. Rojas 8? What kind of a name is Rojas 8? Rose? I'll go with Rose. I'm so glad I offered to pay for the coffee. That's a good question. I would have forgotten about that, or I wouldn't have recognized it had you not asked me the question. Okay, because you have understanding, you can ask them the next question. By the way, limit. What's a question I can get them to think about the limit? Hey, by the way, was there anything, even though it was infinite, was there anything outside of it? No, there wasn't. Yeah, so it was kind of self-contained. Now, you don't have to give him the word limit. You can allow him to keep his word self-contained. It's his birth. You're helping him give birth. But this is the dialectic. Very different from debate, opposite of debate. Here's his words. You're encouraging him to give birth to them. That's why with the majority report, I've been so patient with chatting. And this is what we're going to get to in this episode today. The mistake I made, well, first of all, is having someone in between me and Emma. The Twitch moderators that are fucked in the head. Fascists. No understanding, no communication, just permanently banned. That's why the internet's going crazy right now with this huge Twitch beef. streamer beef between me and Emma, two of the best creators on the platform. Another thing was, even though Emma was ready for the new word, those moderators weren't. So what I realized today was, see, today was a fantastic episode because it's the Majority Report All-Stars. Brendan Sutton and Matt Binder are on the show as well. So, Emma, Matt, Brendan, and the engineer Matt, who's quite clever, and there's a new engineer, Army Guy Bill. I don't know his name. But they all have their own unique insights, and especially Brendan's very insightful. By insightful means he can look ahead. He can see in. His sight is insight. He can see into mind or into sight ahead of others. And he's very intelligent as well, so he can articulate his insights very well. So if I'm ever going to say anything in chat, because we're doing what every human being has to wake up to, but it's been buried for 2,000 years since Socrates. That's what we're doing, the lineage on the board. If I'm going to say anything, I have to wait for them to say it. Otherwise, literally, I was in the YouTube of I can't talk in Twitch because of this crazy beef with these Nazi Twitch moderators. But in YouTube, I made a comment straight away. One of the moderators, "I'm confused by that. Are you a cult member?" What? Are you selling something? Are you preaching? Literally, preaching, cult, selling. None of that I was doing. That's human problems. They can't see. They project their ignorant beliefs onto things that confuse them. What confuses people? Understanding. Why? Because belief is in opposition to understanding in principle. So the more clever you are, the more insightful that you are, the more likely you are to trigger a counter-attack. We killed Socrates. But when Brandon is on the show, I can put what he said in quotes, and then maybe my additional benefit I can add is maybe a summary or a unification of that idea into a couple of words, which will help anyone who happens to be watching in chat. Hopefully they are, but I don't know if they're watching, but haven't been invited on the show yet. And I will only go on the show when I get permanently unbanned and this crazy internet beef can be finally put to rest. But the principle is, I'm safe if I can put a quote around it and say Brandon. And I did it a couple of times. Some of the moderators are stupid. There are some better ones on the YouTube. One in particular seems to be okay. Was looking for an opportunity to kick me out as if he was fucking Hitler of, or like, you know, Hitler of the Twitch chat, like of the YouTube chat. But thankfully Brandon was on, so I can just say, hey, Brandon said this. Yeah, he wouldn't understand it. There's a reason why Brandon's on the show and the fucking YouTube moderator's not on the show. Brandon's very insightful and clever. He isn't. Well, obviously he isn't. But this is the principle. This is the big development. As a dialectician, to be safe, because first of all, you don't want to be kicked out. Second, you're trying to help them. Even the Twitch moderators need to hear this shit and learn. You don't want to trigger their opposition to the very thing they need to hear and learn from. So, waiting until they say it seems to be some sort of principle. Which is interesting because what we have been learning is the highest term is the one self. The one self. So here we have 5 strict dualist, 4 belief, 3 understanding, 2 knowing, and 1 the one self. Pierre Grimes saw this 20 years before his group of friends saw it. And I've always wondered, why did he wait so long? But then I was thinking about, hang on a second, I've seen him talk. He waits till someone in the audience uses a word and he goes, great, now I can use it. That's why it's so important for me to have to wait until Brandon Sutton's on the show, because if you've ever seen the Majority Report Thursday Fun Half, Brendan will say something and it will be one step beyond the seeing of everyone else, and they'll just sit there like, oh yeah. Normally everyone's ready to jump in with their own thoughts, but after Brendan speaks, you pause for a while and think, which is really cool. But I have to wait for someone like that to be in the room for me to say that, oh, by the way, Emma has been talking about needing to have something for months and months and months. It's not only what she's ready for, but it's needed to solve the problems that she's been reporting on for years. So what do we do? What do we do if we can see what's needed and what's helpful? If it's a new understanding that will likely trigger their old beliefs and ignorance. That's part of what we're seeing in this book. For every introduction of a new understanding, there is a kind of interpretation or negative response to it. What we are learning in this book is how to find all of them and anticipate them so we can function beneficially. One trick is wait for them to say it and put it in quotes, which is similar to the dialectic. You ask a question and you take their answer and you build on their answer. So it's nothing about your own opinions and it's nothing about debate. You're helping them build their own thought and give birth to their insight, or give birth to their false beliefs that they can free themselves from. Abort the sick baby. Dialectic. So, the puzzle is, how do we use dialectic in the age of Twitch moderation? Well, the only thing I can think of is when this beef goes so viral, Emma finally says, you know what, I'm going to permanently unban you. You can say whatever you want, and the Twitch moderators will never ban you. Then I will agree to go on her show and do dialectic with her in person. And that's what we're nailing down. What is this dialectic? Catching up with the chat. There are even beliefs you have to know. We've gone through that. Do you believe the pharmacist? There you go. Right. So there are that kind of trust. Yes, I accept that I don't understand something, but I have a good reason to trust in your understanding. So I'm going to listen to you, Socrates, go through the dialectic. I'm going to permanently unban you from Twitch chat, says Emma to me.
The primary purpose of peanuts is not to murder, it's to eat for sustenance.
I agree. Right, so we could call that a special kind of belief where you trust in the understanding of someone else. Not really what we're talking about here, but you're right. There is a whole different set of categories of belief that we can get into. Like scientific beliefs, simple beliefs like, oh, I believe my car needs oil. Don't understand it. And there's prejudice beliefs, religious or faith beliefs, which is in opposition to understanding, in opposition to facts, in opposition to reason, but also can't be proven. Was Mary a virgin? Yeah. Can you prove it? No. But believe it anyway. So prejudice, faith or supernatural belief, and pathologos, the fundamental false beliefs about ourselves that cause our problems, they're the really negative ones. But you can say, well, there's room for simple beliefs in a sense, But again, you're believing in the understanding. You just don't fully grasp it. Scientific beliefs, kind of useful. But again, without understanding, you won't know the whole, you won't know the good, you won't know the principle and the paradigm. So you'll end up making nuclear bombs and hand grenades. In other words, you might be able to see some patterns. You won't know the whole of the patterns, and you won't know how to use it. You can end up destroying human civilization. Should we be digging up radioactive material from deep in the earth that can kill everyone to boil water to create power? Fuck no. Can a scientist or say that? Nope. So even scientific beliefs have a problem. Or scientific beliefs, as explained in the book, torturing nature until she reveals her secrets. Why do we have to experiment on humans and animals? Why do we have to do problem after problem after problem and hope some capitalist can realize he needs to make a profit out of exploiting that problem before we solve the problem? Or we won't solve the problem because he's going to make a profit out of it? Maybe instead of that, we should look at understanding rather than beliefs. Hey, does scientific beliefs take some things for granted? Like 1 and 1 is 2? Let's nail down where that comes from. I don't take the pills. Ooh. We say about pills.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
We say to the pills.
Whore. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. I'm sad for it.
I've been a bad little girl. If you're experiencing a mental health freaks.
Okay. I gotta improve my soundboard. I think perhaps you're drawing a distinction between grounded beliefs and unsustainable. No beliefs. Beliefs are fucked. Don't believe anyone. Understand for yourself. Understand. You care about it. If it's like, oh, I'm going to the doctor. Yeah, no, I am following your understanding. I'm being the one guided by your understanding. I don't want to understand myself, so I trust you. But you're relying upon the cognitive function of understanding, not belief. If you ever go into an office and say, hey, are you a doctor? Yeah. You demonstrated an understanding of it. No, but I believe I'm a doctor. Why? Because Jesus spoke to me in a dream. No, it's in all dreams. Jesus spoke to me when I was playing football and got hit in the head. I could believe my wife loves me. Why not understand? And I would be reasonable to have a lot of evidence to affirm that. Why not understand? I could be wrong, sure. We could fill in as much of our views with evidence as we can, shortening the leap we have to make to believe. Or just understand. Talk to her through the dialectic. Understand her. Listen to her words. Why come to your own personal beliefs when you can understand her by talking to her and listening to her? Love and Logos. Diotima. So, where are we in history? Know thyself. Can't be in the game unless we have a maxim. Our current maxim: destroy the world for personal profit. Capitalism. Rubbish. The maxim we need: know thyself. Why? Because the self is meaningful. And because we are following a theme of the positive and the negative, because there's two activities. Reject mediocrity. Don't settle. Don't give up. Don't do anything you do. Aim for the highest. Aim for excellence. First thinker, first philosopher in this philosophy tradition, Homer, showing us that we can solve all problems, giving us philosophical midwifery. The worst of us and the best of us, the Achilles and the Odysseus, can become Hercules or Penelope, the ideal man or woman. Xenophanes, we only have a little bit from him, 520 BC, so Homer's about 800 BC, thereabouts. 520 rocks up and rocks along. I don't know, something about rocking. Xenophanes rocks up, says, "Hey, what is the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking right now? And by the way, God is one, and it's that." So we can carry this as a question. Parmenides was his student and said, "Hang on a second, in 480 BC, you won't reach that understanding of the nature of God or self or the whole unless you master the dialectic. And be on guard for the worst condition of the soul, to deny the logos or to say that you can't know. You can't know the whole. You can't know the meaning of life. You can't know the nature of reality." So there's the positive and the negative. The positive, the dialectic. Diotima came along and said, "Hey, women are pretty hot, aren't they? You want to probably stay with the best one, right? Here's how you do it. Your stages of personal development is reflected in the stages of a love and logos-based relationship. If you do that, you can become as immortal and a friend of the gods as any human can be, and you both will give birth both to works that will rival Homer and Hesiod." Well, we would say today, you will give birth to works that will rival the Quran and the Bible, and will last within humanity for 1,000 years. Socrates says, "Fair enough. We have the dialectic that we can apply to remove our problems from Homer. We have the dialectic more formalized with Parmenides that we can use to reach excellence, including relationships. You can't do either of them unless you are understanding your dreams." Socrates was in the process of adding the fourth kind of the dialectic when we murdered him, because of our stupid, human, savage loyalty to ignorance and caveman beliefs, just like the huge beef with Emma's Twitch chat that's destroying the internet, going crazy, going viral.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
That's what I've been saying. Showing us the need for the dialectic to the true, or the dialectic to the false, the dialectic to understand and unpack our dreams, and to present it through mythology. Create works of art, rival Homer and Hesiod, like Diotima said. So we can even say Diotima stressed the importance of mythology. True philosophy. True philosophical midwifery removes the false. Dream analysis and theology, you would say. Theology is using your methodology to represent these metaphysical principles. After Socrates, you get Plato. Who was around, let's say 380. So Soc was around what? 430. So Socrates was about 80 when he died, and so there should be about a 60-year gap between the two. Yeah, that's about right. So Plato was about 20 something when we killed him, when we killed his teacher. So with Plato, the positive is we get the dialogues of Socrates about being. which is metaphysics. Metaphysics. But the negative is we lost midwifery, and we lost dream analysis. Meaning what we lost is the ability to solve human problems. Beginning of the end. Unless we can turn it around. After Plato, we have hang on a second. Oh shit. Let me pause for a sec. We have Plotinus in we also get from Plato the first universities of the West, the Platonic Academy. We get the Academy. The first universities. Of the West. Our academic and spiritual tradition. Plotinus came along at around, let's say 240. So what's that? How many years after Plato? About 100, or not quite 100? Over 240. No, much later, much later. This is AD. He shares Plotinus shares his personal experiences with metaphysics, or with philosophical, let's just say this way, shares his own personal philosophical or spiritual experiences. We have Proclus, around 450, let's say. He systematizes the dialectic, nails it down. So this dialectic thing we got from Parmenides, this is an example of it. This is how you find it. This is its parts and stuff. It's pretty neat. But also metaphysics does the elements of theology, tries to make a systematic exploration or entirety of metaphysics. And also, let's bring back a little bit of theology. Let's find all of those principles of metaphysics and link them up with the gods that Plato and Socrates were using to personify them. Theology or mythology. One of those four aspects of the dialectic. And finally, the last of the three big ones after Plato, Damascus. Let's say 500. The last head teacher. Damascus, I forget what he did. What did Damascus give us? I don't think have we covered Damascus in the book? Let's find it. Damascus. Yes. How do you spell it? A-R-M. What? Surely we've got Damascus. Oh, me, it's D-A-M. Okay, I'm spelling it wrong. Damascus. D-A-M-A-S-C. D-A-M. A-S-C-U-S. Damascus, like Damamu, who fought Professor Strange, Doctor Strange, fought Damamu, who sounds like Damascus. You like Doctor Strange? Is he cool? I think he's pretty cool. D-A-M-A-S-C. Not the fake conversion where Paul magically solved his problems out of magic and no longer wanted to kill people. That's bullshit. Damascus was teaching at the end of the academy when the Christian Emperor Justinian closed it down. What did Damascus do? Oh, he acknowledged the divine luminosity can be realized in dreams. That's all we've got so far from the book, so let's stay where we are. He mentions importance of dreams. So it's funny, these three big figures that follow Plato represent three of the four aspects of philosophy, of the dialectic. The dialectic to reach the truth, which you experience, and Plotinus in 420 talked about those experiences himself. By the way, we should be sharing our understanding of the dialectic of metaphysics, which is bringing it to theology or a mythology. So there's philosophy, mythology, dreams. We're missing one, aren't we? So Plotinus with philosophy, Proclus with mythology, Damascus with dreams. We're missing one. Midwifery. Who shows us the significance of midwifery? Aristotle. Why? Because Aristotle was very, very smart. Plato called him the brain. But modern philosophers call him the philosopher. In other words, he speaks for philosophy. So what? What if he had a big problem? What if he had a big problem too? All of these things. I'm gonna need a nap. You'll fall asleep. Hello, sus. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Enjoy a lovely sleep. Have a lovely sleep. Dream about philosophy. So, after Plato, we have Aristotle, who was kicked out of the academy because he had a block that Plato couldn't address. So Aristotle around 350 BC, he lost everything. No philosophy, no midwifery, no dream analysis, and no metaphysics. Everything. So we lost the ability to solve problems, which then led to Plato not being able to solve Aristotle's problem. Therefore, because we killed Socrates when we did, before he was able to pass on his mythology, his understanding of dream analysis and midwifery to a student, we lost the ability to solve problems. In particular, Aristotle's problem. He had a problem against metaphysics completely. We lost everything. And this is where we are now. So we can say, Emperor Justinian, Emperor Fuckface McGee, so Emperor Christian, let's not forget belief is the cause of all human problems. Christian Emperor Justinian in 529 AD killed everyone, killed or exiled, killed all philosophers, because belief is in opposition to understanding and principle. If you understand him, understand for yourself, you don't have to believe Emperor Justinian's bullshit about what God is, because we understand it. That's theology. Philosophers, which brought in the Dark Ages. This is the Dark Age. The Dark Ages. So, our modern philosophy is a combination of Emperor Justinian, the Dark Ages, and Aristotle, which is, if you lose everything, you have materialism. No metaphysics, no solving problems, no dream analysis, no theology. Materialism. You have materialism from Aristotle. You have the Dark Ages from Emperor Justinian. That's the Roman tradition. That's the Third Reich. That's the Nazis. The Romans and the Germans together. That's modernism. Third Reich, Nazis, modern scholarship, modern philosophy, and education. That's where we are. Everyone after this, Hegel, Kant, all of those people, not worth mentioning because they are religious folk. Kant gives up on a bunch of his questions because Jesus wouldn't ask me a question like that. They don't have the ability to solve problems. They don't have the ability to find truth. They don't have the ability to reflect on their dreams properly. And they don't have the ability to therefore share that through mythology. That's modernism. So everything since here has been a problem. We have Nazis, we have wars, we have capitalism, we have all of this terrible, terrible shit. So modern philosophy, and we can even put things like giving us debate and not dialectic, giving us conflict, giving us ignorance, or Nazis, capitalism, etc., etc., etc. Nothing good and no removing bad. Belief. Oh, some chat. A fact is verifiable and objective, while a belief is a subjective state of mind. Nice. Someone trains to be a pilot, it's more than just believing you are one. There is a distinction between a skill set, confidence, and experience, and a belief. I can believe I'm an octopus, but that doesn't make me suddenly have 8 limbs. Yeah, completely irregardless of truth. And by the way, if you're attached to that belief or identified with that belief, I'm an octopusist. My family were octopusists. And not only is it completely not related to truth, it's in opposition to truth. And how can you how can you prove a belief? Murder, genocide. Genocide. Torture. Modern science is torturing nature until she reveals her secrets. That's where we are. It also prevents us from seeing what's real. A reliance on society due to carefully cultivated scientific efforts and applied research theories isn't the same as belief. Also, yeah, but as we've been saying, that's just Aristotle. It's materialism. You can torture nature to reveal scientific principles, to make nuclear weapons, to enslave people through capitalism, to genocide Palestinians. Is that helpful? If we have no principles of truth, benefit, goodness, beauty, are we just torturing nature until she reveals her secrets so we can use it to create genocides and enslavement? In other words, modern science ain't good for shit without the logos. Alternatively, if we have understanding of principles of the logos, we can use modern AI or technology to create algorithms to help us do dream analysis, to help us do midwifery, to put on your GPS as you're going through a town and say, oh, that person has a similar pathologos to mine. I'm going to pop in for a coffee on my way through his town. Otherwise, it will just bring nuclear Armageddon. I love my mum. but that doesn't stop me from seeing how god-awful she raised me. Exactly. Well, love without logos is terrible. Love without understanding is sick. You can care for her, but do you consider her beauty itself? Hope not. Otherwise, you'll find a partner who will reflect your image of her, or a guy that will allow you to play her role when she looked most beautiful in her problem. Can I find a guy that will treat me in a similar way so I can be as beautiful as mummy? Not beautiful itself. You don't know what that is. A loving relationship from Diotima, we get from Diotima, is to recognize you don't know, but to find someone with a good heart and good head, someone who loves the logos, to, through reasoned reflection, participate in higher and higher levels of beauty, which elevates your cognitive functions and can awaken you to higher states of true beauty itself. It's more of a Stockholm syndrome to think our parents are beautiful. Don't tell anyone that, because unless you've gone through these things that we've lost, dream analysis and midwifery, you'll kill someone. How dare you say my mummy was not beautiful or my daddy was not powerful? Even the worst. Love is complicated and intricate feeling made up of a serious, complex psychological. What we're seeing is, can we make it simple? Can we make love simple? Is love a kind of desire for union with the beautiful? Do you love what you consider beautiful? Would you love it if it wasn't good? Okay, so can we recognize love as some sort of desire for the good and the beautiful and start from there? Now that would be the symposium. We started the symposium, but then we also started this book. So we will have to go back into the symposium and see if we can look at this conversation that Diotima had with Socrates. So here's our lineage. Know thyself. Reject mediocrity. 1. Homer. You can do it. 2. Xenophanes. God is one and it's the whole of seeing, hearing, and thinking. 3. Parmenides. You won't ever realize that unless you do the dialectic. Diotima. By the way, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Diotima. Loving relationships. You can master that art in a loving relationship. It's the paradigm for the good relationship. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Socrates. Not only do you need the dialectic and midwifery, dreams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We killed Socrates as before he could finish the game. Philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology. He was writing poetry because his dreams told him to do it, to convey this, but we killed him. So 6 is Plato. Thankfully, we have the dialogues from Socrates. Also read the Balboa translation always. Otherwise, you won't be able to do philosophy. We lost dream analysis and midwifery, meaning we couldn't fix Aristotle's problems. So we lost even the rest. We lost metaphysics with Aristotle, materialism. Kicked out of the academy. After Plato in the academy, we have Plotinus sharing his personal experiences in philosophy. We have Proclus systematizing the dialectic and mythology. And we have Damascus talking about the importance of dreams. But Emperor Justinian killed all the philosophers, began the Dark Ages. Therefore, where we are now is a consequence of Aristotle's problem, materialism, losing everything, and Emperor Justinian's ignorance, killing everyone. So we lost everything and we killed everyone. Materialism and Dark Ages together, that's modern philosophy. Now, that's where we're at. There's one more figure in this list. Pierre Grimes. Pierre Grimes is the author. Pierre Grimes rediscovered philosophical midwifery for himself in the 60s, working with alcoholics, solved alcoholic problems, freeing him from his false beliefs, enabling him to read Socrates for the first time in 2000 years. The first person to be free enough from his beliefs to actually read the Logos without the impulse to project his own personal beliefs in. So rediscovering philosophy. He then rediscovered dream analysis, because while Plato didn't write about Socrates' dream analysis, Socrates did talk about the significance of dreams, as did Damascus. Homer also mentions dreams, so he also rediscovered dream analysis. He also lived a long life, thankfully, despite the Nazis. These guys, Aristotle and Emperor Justinian, the Roman and Nazi tradition, Third Reich, Roman, Nazi, the Reichs tradition. The Nazis could have killed Pierre Grimes when he was 17. Lied about his age so he could fight against the Nazis in World War II. A hero. One of the most decorated war heroes. Something saved him. There's some stories about that happening, but we won't get into that now. So, thankfully, we have Pierre Grimes, who could have been killed by that Aristotelian and Justinian Nazi tradition, modern Western academia. Thankfully, he didn't. Rediscovered midwifery, rediscovered dream analysis, was able to bring back into the light philosophy, and because he lived a good life, no thanks to Hitler or Justinian or Aristotle, was able to share it in the book we're reading. Therefore, that's where we are. We are here. We're in the last stage of the rediscovery of our intellectual and spiritual tradition and lineage, giving us what we need to finally solve human problems and reach our excellence. Where we are in the text, because of that mythology, the book we're reading is number 3, dreams. In the book, we're reflecting on dream analysis. What does our dream maker have? What does he do? And how can we participate in necessarily needed for our benefit? What we've been seeing is our dream master must know, in order to benefit us, must know certain things as a whole and parts. Must know the whole of spiritual development, states of mind, cognitive function, the whole of human history, the whole of your life history, but also use it, also know the parts. Just as you have to know the whole and the parts of an engine to be a mechanic, our dream master must know the whole and parts of all evolution, spiritual development, cognitive functions, your individual lifetime, and the destiny of man as a whole. We've also realized that it uses that wisdom of the whole and the parts to benefit us, giving us dreams at the right time necessary for our stage of development. There's no Emma from the Majority Reports Twitch moderators getting in the way. It talks to you directly. Therefore, like Hercules, it must have a knowledge of the whole of being as a state of being or mind, must be able to know all of the parts and the whole and the parts of the physical world. To use both providentially must be some sort of expression of the ideal self, or Hercules or Penelope. Therefore, not only do we understand the dream maker and dreams, understand how to unpack our dreams, which must be the dialectic, We must be a way of applying this dialectic that Parmenides gave us to our dreams. Not only do we have all that, but we can recognize the Dream Master is a model for us. It's the model of self-excellence. Don't you want to know everything and the parts and use it to be a good person to everyone you care about? Maybe all living beings? Don't you want to have a power to do that forever? And not be limited by a Twitch chat moderator or anyone else's ignorance? Don't you want to know mind completely? The highest reach of the mind? Don't you want to know the self that has mind and functions through time? Therefore, because we have recognized that this is where we are in human development, Homer, Xenophanes, Parmenides, Diotima, Socrates, Plato, Plotinus, Proclus, and Damascus, and the fall, Aristotle and Christian Emperor Justinian Fuckface McGee, Roman Nazi tradition, where we are, modern academia, but other names, love of opinions, philodoxia, love of debate, philonikos. We are also in this process of rediscovering it because of what we're reading. What we're reading now is a mythology that gives us what we need to do all three things. By the way, the Dream Maker also creates a mythology every night in our dreams and uses that mythology to give us information about using parts and whole to give us information about our problems, removing what's false, or our enlightenment experiences, as Damascus reminds us. Meaning our Dream Maker is our model of excellence that we're able to see because of the excellence of Pierre Grimes. Therefore, someone like Socrates who's finished, who gained excellence. So what? So if the Dream Maker is our Herculean or Penelopean model of true self-excellence, or Zeus, we want to be as much as we can like it. Meaning, what we have done just now, and over the last 2 episodes, has been taking all of the parts of the text and bringing it together into an intelligible whole. Because the Dream Maker must himself have the parts in the whole. And just as I was attempting to do with the Majority Report before this huge, crazy internet beef started, Dramagate, they're calling it, some are calling it, I was trying to do the exact same thing with someone who I was hoping, or those who are following along, been listening to her development for months and months and months, maybe if they're paying attention, they would be at that same stage. Whether Emma or whoever was following along in the chat, ready for that next thing. Because they were using the word model, principle, paradigm. They can't, now that's their logos, but they're not going to magically know the name logos. So the way I can benefit is say, hey, this is the word. I know it because I've been doing this for many, many years. You haven't. Not a criticism, it's just, yeah. The mechanic will say, that's called a carburetor. Oh, I'm offended, says the Twitch chat. How dare you put a name on that weird object I've been trying to understand? It's not an offensive thing. Carburetor, you're in a cult! Ban him! It's not a cult. It's just what it's fucking called. It's called the fucking logos. That thing Emma and Sam have been gagging for, the principle, the tent pole of the Democrats that they're not having, that's allowing fascism to take over. It's got a name, it's called the self-logos. That's what it is, that's what it's called. You've been doing it, which is the understanding that's been distinguishing you from all the other slop. Not all other, there are some fantastic content creators out there, but majority of the internet is slop.
The internet is all robots.
All robots and
I'm a
slots.
human. I don't listen to robots.
Meaning, out of all of the people on the internet, Emma and her crew are a small group. Brendan would be in that list of people who have been following the logos themselves, and therefore would be more likely to be open to the next stage of understanding, recognizing what understanding is. Its name is the logos. That's why I'm in the right with this crazy drama gate. So I will not go on the show unless I'm permanently unbanned. And that Twitch moderator is kicked off his job because he's doing a shit job. What the fuck? I even did you could do a challenge. Like, hey, by the way, this is what I said. This is how it reflected what was being said in the thing, how it was relevant, how it's accurate. And by the way, the whole show has an ethos to be open to learning and understanding. What you're doing is against those principles. Within 1 second, dismissed. Didn't even reflect for a fucking second on it. That's why the internet's gone. They're breaking the internet right now. Drama. So much drama. That's why they're calling it Dramagate, because there's so much drama. Of course, I'm using it as an analogy. Because, you know, who's going to listen to me? Maybe you, though. Maybe you guys are going to listen and are going to create something that's really, really awesome and they'll listen to you. But I don't think I'm on Emma's radar, but there you go. I'm mucking around. I'm making fun of the fact that in the book, one of the issues with doing what we're here to do, the meaning of life for everyone, what solves all human problems, individually and collectively, a difficulty with that is entertained. Again, all from the book. This is not me being silly for my own sake. I can justify my silliness. 57. The many out there seek only to be entertained and not taught. Page 96. The many can only be entertained and not taught the mysteries. They don't seek to understand these sacred things. Either they stand in awe of them, or they simply ignore them, or they ban you. Permanently from Twitch chat. Huge beef with them, alright.
Freaks.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
Twitch moderators, that she's talking to you. So those are the two quotes that say, hey, the many would rather be entertained. They think they know, they just want an entertainment that reflects their beliefs. That's why the fascists or the right-wing griftosphere or the YouTube slop content or what, there's a name for it. You make your right-wing grifting turn. You realize you're not a funny comedian anymore, so you just start being super fucking racist. Joe Rogan and all his comedian friends that aren't funny anymore because they're not insightful, they're not learning. So now they're just being as racist as they can to grift to the false beliefs of the many. So the Democrats not only have to have an understanding of the tentpole or principles or paradigm, the logos, but an understanding of its negative distortion, the pathologos, and how it manifests as religious and political grifters and capitalist grifters targeting those false beliefs because we don't have institutions of midwifery, philosophy, dream analysis, and mythology. Those four aspects of the dialectic, schools of dialectic. Our culture should be philodianoia, love of understanding, because we don't have that, and we don't have a culture around that, like know thyself. And in fact, it's the opposite. It's a culture of manipulating people through their ignorance. Capitalism. We have the conflict and genocides and inequality and suffering and extinction of the human planet that we are seeing. In other words, you will never solve the problems you've been commenting on for such a long time unless you are open to learning the Logos and its distortion, the Pathologos. That's as true for Emma as it's true for every single human being. Not just human beings, any living being. That's what it means to be a principle. It's universally applicable. Nothing to do with the beliefs or opinions or perspectives. It's always true. Necessarily. Because of understanding. That's how awesome it is. It kicks ass.
The more holes, the better.
Exactly. It's what I've been saying. So, and if you don't do it, you unleash. 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 So page 155. The ignorant. So, the church and the temple offer alternatives to clan leadership. The bridge from the irrational family clan beliefs to humanness is through a rational logos. Logos, that's the word I got banned for. Logos. It's fucking logos. That's the word. Duck. The word is duck. Don't freak out. Don't clutch your pearls. The word is logos. A rational spiritual system. The danger is when the core beliefs of the clan mirror the religion. When your family beliefs bullshit mirrors kings or clergy, your church, or your fascist, Netanyahu, Trump, Putin. The mindless ones, pathologos, belief, follow any call to duty and they leave in their wake chaos and destruction. Human problems that Emma has been commenting on. The ignorant follow the leader and then blame him for whatever failures follow from his leadership. It keeps them from seeing their own crimes against the dignity of their fellow man, whether it's billionaires impoverishing the many, dignity of fellow man. The billionaires taking away Medicare, taking away food for children, dignity of fellow man. The billionaires owning all the house and making us pay fucking rent to live somewhere. To who? For what? Dignity of your fellow man. ICE, killing, kidnapping, raping, torturing, murdering. There have been many people dying in the hands of fucking ICE. Dignity of the fellow man. All it is the ignorant following the leader, blaming the leader. I'm just doing my job. That's why I'm covering my face. Prevents them from seeing their own crimes against the dignity of their fellow man. They plead innocent and cry aloud that they're just doing their duty. The cry of doing one's duty blinds them from seeing themselves. Fuck duty, that's Nazism. That's why we still have Nazis. We didn't address the root fundamental cultural German, specifically, cultural pathologos belief of duty above all. Now, it's true for everyone, but in particular, Germans are really tied to it. Thus, we call that unleashing the tyranny of the mindless many. Because Hitler was so much like that, the Germans fell in line. So it's important to understand that there is a moral imperative for everyone in our culture to do philosophical midwifery and dream analysis to solve human problems. Otherwise, kings and clergy will unleash the tyranny of the mindless many by manipulating us through our belief. Trump ain't no fucking Christian, but he sure pretends to be, doesn't he? That's the right-wing grift. And equally so, there is no right wing, it's the pathologos. Equally so, the tent pole for the left is the logos. So there isn't a left and right, it's pathologos and logos. Now they're not currently, but that's the name for what it should be. That's the paradigm, that's the principle. And we awaken it through the dialectic. If we don't, the unleashing of the mindless many's tyranny to the extinction of all life. If we do, excellence, Homers and Penelopes all over the place, and a higher purpose for our human race itself. It's worth, so there's also a purpose or destiny for our race as its entirety we got from the book, as there is for us individually. So, And our model for that excellence of Homer and Penelope is our own Dream Master. Isn't that neat? It knows the paradigm. It knows the whole. It's not going to ban you. Huge beef with Emma right now.
It's a total shit show.
Total shit show. It's not going to ban you. It's always talking to you, and it's going to present what you need relevant to your part in respect to the whole for your seeking of the self. That's why we are being our best to be like it. No beliefs, no interpretation, just the logos from the text that we are bringing together into a whole. The whole of human development: Homer, Xenophanes, Parmenides, Diotima, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Plotinus, Proclus, Damascus, and Justinian. That's our whole of human culture so far. And Pierre Grimes to recreate or rediscover the whole of learning. What's the whole of learning? Philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology. Like any, you're going to have problems. Socrates didn't do this. We lost this and this with Plato, and we lost this with Aristotle. We need all three, all four. Pierre Grimes has all four, allowing us to redo it or pick up where we left off with Socrates, but also dreams. We are copying, or not copying, we are following the lead of our dream maker and seeing all of these parts, organizing it within a hierarchy, harmony or Apollo, seeing it as a whole, Aphrodite, which we need to function through the dialectic. That's from the book as well. The anagogic or upward moving principle of the anagogic triad. The parts rationally ordered in a hierarchy, harmony, Apollo. Bringing it into a whole, simply and beautifully. How fucking beautiful is this board? Seriously though, look at this board. Look at this. This is a bit of a mess because we were giving birth to a unique question. What's the missing 10th hypothesis of Parmenides? But look at this. The dream maker. The dialectic. The 3 levels of reality. And today what we did. The lineage. How beautiful. Aphrodite. Inspiring, isn't it? Aphrodite. Empowering, isn't it? Aphrodite. And we take those parts, ordered into a whole, that we can therefore use for the dialectic. So everyone that we will meet will be at some level of those cognitive functions. Some level of perception of reality on those levels, being, becoming, and self. Some stage within that lineage, if you have time travel ability. Some level of perception of those 4 aspects of the dialectic. So in other words, by having the parts in the whole, Aphrodite and Apollo, or Apollo and Aphrodite, we can then function beneficially Hermes, the dialectic, with the goal of reaching Zeus, the self, Hercules or Penelope. That's what we're doing today. The bombshell about the drama beef was that, you know, make sure you're on an episode with Brendan Sutton because he's going to say something insightful and you can just put it what he said in quotes and then add whatever you need to bring it together into a unity or maybe give the next step. Which is like what Pierre Grimes did. He saw heaps, but he had to wait for someone else to see it before he could then use it, which reflects the dialectic. Make sure they're in agreement or they're seeing before you take the next step, which mirrors the dream maker. Super important, which also helps me direct my time. I'm going to make sure I'm only spending time with insightful people who have a good heart and good head and who are likely to be interested in bringing the parts into a whole, Apollo and Aphrodite, so I can put what they say in quotes and then add my piece. Otherwise, the counterattack. Counterattack is part of the dynamics of learning. So, that's where we are. In the book, we are going to continue to learn about dream and our dream maker and how we can unpack our dreams ourselves. But now we're keeping in mind that we are doing it too. We are learning about the dream maker and doing dream maker. We are unifying the parts into whole and doing our best to share it dialectically. We are becoming like our dream maker. And the more we understand him, the more we can become like him and function like him. Or her. So that's where we are. If I was abused as a child, I'd believe love looked like abuse. Yes, I would be doomed. Yes, fate. Doomed to fate. To repeat the cycles of injustice we suffered in our upbringing because we've mistaken it for love. Love without understanding is tragic, terrible, disaster. Because sadistic people love doing sadistic shit. Kings and clergy, right? So we have to recognize we're in that predicament because we're humans, and then go through the process of learning what true love is. By the way, if you've got a partner who's got a good heart and good head, you can go through that learning process together. It's a win. I'm saying win-win. It's a
win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Because of what I grew up to believe. Yeah, you got it. I'm just here to play devil's advocate. I hate that game. I love that game. Wait a minute. Is devil's advocate like Hungry Hippos? I'm thinking of Hungry Hippos. You're playing devil's advocate. I'm only used to playing Hungry Hippos. I love debates. Uh-oh. Well, see, here's the thing. Maybe what you like about debates isn't the way fascists use it. Maybe it's the elements that reflect the dialect. You like talking to someone about meaningful things and being able to express yourself. Now, the things that make conversation a debate you probably don't like. Lying, tricking, tangents, muddying the waters, not really caring about winning, but trying to make you feel bad. I won because I pissed you off. That's debate tactics. Propaganda, fascism, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Peterson, the Rogan sphere, all of the fascist government people who go on Joe Rogan. That's debate. Belief, tyranny, sexism, it's all debate. What you probably love is the dialectic, which is what probably has drawn you here, made you stick around for so long. Reasoned reflection on a meaningful topic together with someone else who's interested to come to truth and understanding, or purify yourself from false beliefs. Maybe that's what you love. Feel kings. Kitty feels be kind. Hang on, let me see. Kitty feelings be kind. Ings feel. Feel ings opings feelings feel. I broke. Oh. I understand. You pushed all the emojis and now you broke your thinking. I have the same thing with my buttons.
That one's perfect and exactly the case. Freaks.
Literally no one has ever experienced joy ever.
Hey, whoa. Who asked? And this is spam.
No one seems to be learning or growing or addressing problems.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
Talking about a bunch of slop.
You piece of shit. Oh, enough of this crap. You know.
I also get get broke. You with your emojis, me with my buttons. So, a bit of fun at the end. Wow, we're over 3 hours in. So, let's call it here. Nice reflection, bring it together. We know, well, we've revisited, put together into a whole where we are within the lineage of thought. So we're not just making shit up as we go or reinventing the wheel. We're kind of rediscovering a tradition that has been killed, specifically because we killed Socrates. Don't kill the logos. Don't ban people from Twitch. Big beef with Emma right now.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Killed Socrates before he gave us, before he was able to share the entirety of these 4. So we lost mythology when we killed Socrates. We therefore lost dreams and midwifery with Plato, and then we lost truth with Aristotle. Therefore, religion and materialism. The Third Reich. Nazi scientists doing Nazi bullshit supported by the Christian Church. Torturing nature to reveal her secrets. Modernism. But we're here in the process of recreating this, in particular by understanding our dreams. Isn't that neat? Isn't that neat? We can understand not just human problems, but the history of human problems. Not just human excellence, but the history of human excellence. Where we're at, what we have to do next, and how much fun are we going to have taking this back with us when we read. Last time, we were struggling about this mysterious 10th hypothesis, which is still a puzzle. If there is a first hypothesis, one self, good self, true self, what kind of a dialectic are we to do to reach our ultimate goal? Thus self. Is it logo self? Is it self-self? Self-self doesn't seem to work. Interesting, puzzling. I still don't know. I'm still puzzled. Hopefully next time when we get back into reading, we will get some more clues on this puzzle. But what a great puzzle to come to birth. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. By the way, Pierre did leave us a clue in the year before he died about this. Actually, for a few years. Speaking of waiting for someone else to say it or see it before you can talk about it. I remember when Pierre Grimes put forward the idea, hey, you know that first hypothesis of the Parmenides, the one self? This guy here. The one self. And in the Republic, it's the good self. But these mean that these are different. They're derivative terms. We seek the one through our reasoning. We desire the good through our inward desire. We can also seek truth in our outward movement. The 3 functions of the soul, the 3 forces that propel us. So soul, you could say, it doesn't really exist in a sense, because not the self. But it's a word we can give to those, the union of those 3 forces within us as individuals. Isn't it interesting that they all lead to the same conclusion? The first hypothesis. But if you can say, hang on a second, you can intellect, just as you can intellectually distinguish the difference between beauty and harmony, or justice and beauty. In the experience, they're not different, but you can intellectually distinguish them. So too, can you, hey, something good has to be one, but not necessarily. Or rather, you can have something that's one, that's also bad, one jar of poison. So you can make distinctions. In the highest, it's one good and true. Therefore, by bringing all of these parts together into a whole to be like the dream maker, we can give birth to a question and maybe give birth to the clues, the harmony and the structure and the beauty and the symmetry to answer that question. Is there a secret 10th hypothesis above the one self? And what do we have to do to see it? And can our dreams guide us? Those are 3 big questions. Is there a mysterious 10th? What do we have to do to see it? And how can we benefit from our dreams to get to that end? 3 big questions that we're going to carry with us next time. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the new chatters and your questions and your queries and hanging around. I appreciate it. Thank you to the OG chatters. Genevieve and Sus hanging out today. Thank you so much. Soon I will have an average of 3 people, and I will get affiliate. Then the money starts rolling in, and that's what it's been all about. That's what it's all been about. I'm gonna get the Benjamins, get affiliate, and then I get the Benjamins, right? And then I make my right-wing grifting turn, and I start talking about appealing to the ignorance of the many and entertaining them. No, I'm kidding.
Don't be disgusting.
Sorry. Sorry for being disgusting. Those 3 big questions. What's the self? How do we get there? How can dreams help? Let's take that with us next time. Follow on Twitch, on YouTube, join the Discord, link below, PDF to the text if you're interested, buy a book. And if you want to donate to the channel, that is very much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one.